Hello everybody, welcome to the Tuesday show. My name is James Chen, and I am joined once again in person, live, and in action by Mr. Ultra David and Mr. Tubaware. How's everyone going?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I drove out here to Santa Monica, California. It took me about 45 minutes. I was caught in traffic, you know, normal Los Angeles stuff. And
yeah, anyways, well. I'm here. Yeah, I flew out like I do every week.
Indeed.
Nothing dangerous about getting on an airplane right now. Of course, we already know that. So
I'm happy
right
to be
on, and here I am.
I'm thrilled to be in the same room as both of you.
You know, you make jokes, but I've definitely had friends that don't normally watch this type of stuff tune in and ask me, "Are you there?" And I just laugh at them. Like, yeah, dude, I'm there.
That's crazy.
I'm totally there.
There was
for sure.
I saw someone like a really old clip, like maybe a year, no, actually not a year ago, but earlier this year, clip of us doing the Tuesday show, and part of me really honestly thought you were here, David. Like, it's actually a pretty convincing illusion. I'm
pushing too far. I punched into space, just like Rain, who we'll talk about soon.
Yeah, that's right. Huh? Oh, oops! I went the wrong way. Do it again, David.
Got him, everybody.
Oh, okay.
Here's what we're going to discuss today over here on the appropriate side that I'm putting my hand towards. We're going to be talking about Guilty Gear and netcode related to that in a couple of different ways, although this is the biggest one. We're going to talk about UMK11 and Rain, and there's some associated changes to talk about. We're going to talk about Twitch going wild in a not exactly positive way.
Yeah.
That's not always a great adjective, wild. We're going to have some 5-5 matchups, including Dragon Ball FighterZ, a tournament that was pulled out of by ChrisG. We're going to talk about skill-based matchmaking again, although with a different eye towards the question. We're going to talk about fighting games and whether there's too complicated or not. Maybe we'll see to get into online play. We have a couple of viewer questions, of course. There's some other game news. There's some tournament results to discuss and some upcoming stuff as well that we've kind of fit into the end there. But let's begin by talking about Guilty Gear and its netcode.
Before we get started, just really quick, I remember last week people were saying that David and Tubo were really quiet. I had a similar experience on a previous stream. I've done some tweaks now. Let me know how the volume is. Let me know how everyone's volumes are, and if they are pretty balanced right now. And if that's the case, I think I might have fixed that problem. So just let me know in the chat how the volume is.
Let us know about James tweaking us.
Yes.
James tweaks us all the time, guys.
Yeah, I do. And you know what?
What are you reaching right now, James? Right into Tubo?
He's tweaking me. I just got tweaked right now. Yeah.
I tweak him and I plug him all the time too, right? So
true.
Plugging Tubo is definitely one of my favorite pastimes right now. So
where are the closed captions at, James? Are they broken?
No, they're on there. I'm watching them. But just to let people know that while we were streaming before the mics went hot, we did have the CC going, and that's just how it works. So, you know,
we
whatever.
Were aware.
Not a big deal.
We were aware. We made sure we stopped talking about all of the illegal stuff before we turned on the closed captions.
If you guys want the hot Ultra Chen info, just turn on those closed captions before we go live. You're going to get a whole lot of fart jokes and talking about what we're eating before we go live.
Absolutely right.
And talking about how I can try to get weed legally here in California. So
that's true.
You don't need to try. You can just go down to the corner store and do it.
Say, if you bring your ID, it's not going to be too hard, man.
Yeah. It's kind of easy.
All right, let's get going on this one over here. The big news is that Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R will get rollback netcode on Steam, on the Steam version specifically. This was an announcement that ArcRevo put out just a few days ago. They're going to have a public beta test starting on October 29th, which is in a week and a half. They're going to have more details at that point, or later on at least. But we do know as well that they're going to have lobbies and spectating, which was ported from the Switch version. And also that reload and slash stages will be a part of it as well. This is a fan-made project, the netcode part of it, fan-made project that ArcRevo picked up. So this is not something that ArcSys has started internally, but that they've sort of brought in, which is very interesting. So that's the news as far as Plus R goes. What do y'all think?
Well, I mean, first of all, there's a couple of things to talk about this. Somebody asked me why it's always these older games that keep getting this rollback netcode retrofitted in there. I talked about what I responded with my understanding of it. I linked in Keats, and he basically kind of confirmed and explained it better, as he does. It's because these games are smaller games, they're easier games, and so save states and calculating what the game is doing from the save state, if it rolls back 7 frames, you know, being able to load that save state and then play the game for 7 frames in the span of 1 frame and then snap the game into the correct state is obviously a lot easier. He said that, you know, with Killer Instinct, whenever he had to snap 15 frames, I mean, that's a lot of processing power that you have to put in there to do that. So it's easier for the older games to snap things in back and forth like that. But the bigger point about this is, how about ArcSys, dude? Like, how many companies have you seen people, like, when people do this, there comes the cease and desist?
Absolutely, yeah. No, this was a surprise to me for sure. There have been many cases of, maybe not this specifically, of like, we've improved your netcode. Like, I haven't seen that really, but get seen indeed. But yeah, typically when we see people try to work on older games, or even sometimes current games, or whatever it may be, with mods and the like, yeah, we've certainly more than a few times seen cease and desists from those companies.
There are exceptions, though.
Sure.
There's definitely, like, for example, Team Sonic. Usually when they see something really dope happening, they're just like, hey, you guys want to partner with us and actually do this?
Well, that's because Team Sonic can't make a good Sonic game anymore. But
there with the Team Sonic sponsorship, James.
I know. Tubo's been working on this for days.
I mean, hey, how about the Sonic movie being the #1 box office movie of the year? Good job, Sonic. Let's go.
That movie was way better than I thought it was going to be. But anyways, yeah, I think it's really dope that ArcSys is doing that.
Yeah.
I am jaded, though, because I remember when a little company called SNK was like, hey, you guys noticed that there's delay in our game, and we're going to fly you out from France to come show us how to fix it. And I thought for sure that SNK really cared about us, really, really wanted to see Samurai Showdown succeed, and then they said, here's a bunch of characters, and we're not going to fix anything else ever again, okay, bye. So it's really cool that ArcSys is doing this, but my experience in fighting games is just expect the lowest amount of effort possible and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like they're the ones putting in the effort. I guess I don't know what it's like now. Maybe they've brought these people into the fold in some way. I don't know what the arrangement is. But the folks in the like fan-made project of this are the ones who have been putting in the work. So
that's
maybe you don't need to expect that like ArcSys itself will be doing stuff, even though, of course, it is also putting in rollback into Strive, their new game.
Yeah, I mean,
they're putting in work, man. Honestly,
look, I mean, here's the thing, right? It's just the guys who were doing this as a fan project have confirmed that they're getting paid now.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah, I mean,
that's great. Okay.
That's actually super cool. I mean, I'm so happy about that. I mean, it's just, you know, the fans really are putting in so much of the work, you know, and that's why you see in a lot of the American dev studios that are making these fighting games how much kind of love and care goes into a lot of these fighting games, because they really are just the fans. And, you know, ArcSys kind of almost rewarding them for, because they would have finished this project whether they were paid or not without access to the actual code base. Now they have access to the actual code base and they're getting paid for it. I mean, like I said, I'm just so happy with ArcSys making this decision. With you know, Code Mystics just tweeted out a couple of like teasers on certain games and things like that, and it's just it feels like, you know, like I said, if there is a silver lining to this stupid pandemic and everything that's going on is that the emphasis on we need to have good online, and we'll talk a lot more about this later on today. I'm just so happy to see so many of these companies really kind of stepping up, and
Sure.
Hopefully forcing other companies to step up even more as well, or to step up at all, right? So
Right. Yeah, I think that's the thing, is if they step up at all, not maybe they will, so just at all, because a lot of them just have not given us playable netcode ever.
But these companies are not monoliths, right? So they're made up of humans, and people in the chat are talking about how FGC members are the people who got the ball rolling on this. Is that right?
I mean, you would imagine that
I would
like,
certainly believe it. Yeah,
that they like the game, right? I mean, I wouldn't add netcode to a game that I don't like.
I mean, like people within Arc are who are FGC folks, are the ones who made this choice. That's what I'm getting at.
That's cool. I have no idea then. That's cool. Either way.
I'm sorry. I just noticed that Zynak is actually in the chat right now.
Yeah, right.
Oh, what's up, Chase?
Yeah, so, I don't know if we all want to just be like, hey, Zynak, by the way, all this kind
Zynak
of thing.
says that it wasn't him, actually. But,
yeah.
but,
Womp womp.
But, regardless, hopefully, he's putting up those Post-it notes out everywhere that say roll back on them in the offices, and people just walk by it and just see it.
People are saying it was Sheeny, aka Zach. I'm.
Okay.
Oh.
Sure.
Oh yeah, let's see. There's a little link in here. Oh, how cool. Okay, yeah, that is the implication of this tweet. Interesting. Well, anyway, rad. Regardless of how it happened, I'm really happy about it, and I feel like it's another example of how great it is when actual FGC folks are involved in fighting game production.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you get a lot of the best, most loved stuff, or the stuff that takes love, I should say, when people like that are involved.
Yeah.
Good work. Super cool. By the way, Keats in the chat is giving us tremendous examples. Just a lot of written text in there. If anybody is also reading that.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, talking about that, because, he's obviously, like I said, that's why I tag him in all those tweets that I put out now, because I'm just like, you know what? I need someone to make sure that somebody who's done this before can describe this better than I can.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, very interesting. I think this is great. Do you think that it'll have much of an impact on the scene for the game?
People are playing it right now on Steam. It's not out yet.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
People are picking up the game because they're just getting ready for it. I think it was Kugi who was like, I don't care if it's delay-based right now. I'm having fun just playing this again, and getting ready for this, so...
For sure.
So I wish I saved it, but I saw an interesting tweet that put out numbers of the KOF patch, the limited test they had on their rollback, and they showed the numbers before it was announced and what the player base was, and after after the test had ended, and the player base had doubled. So I think it'll matter. It'll matter a lot.
For almost every game, the player base doubled, which meant Fexel went from 5 players to 10 players, I think it was. So
that's sick, though, if you're a Fexel player, right?
You're being serious? That's going to blow up.
I make that kind of a joke. It sounds like I'm blowing it up, but that was literally the numbers. That was the picture.
Dude, I would look at us as that's a gain, right? My season's doubled.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Of course, yeah.
No, that definitely doesn't get enough love. That's for sure.
By the way, Runaway Ducky, actually, we were thinking about asking you to come on and do an interview with us. So,
is he in the chat? Is he in the chat right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
we're gonna contact you.
Get an old conversation going there, maybe rather than just texts back and forth in the chat.
Yeah,
but,
it was
a little too late. We had a guest lined up for today, ended up not being able to work out. That was kind of last minute, so we didn't want to bother you about this. At some point in the future? Absolutely. And yes, definitely make sure that it's cool that you do so with all the people who are writing text to you.
I was actually going to mention this earlier. Now that you're actually working for ArcSys, I was worried about contacting you about an interview because you might be NDA'd and not be able to actually say anything of interest. So I would hate to bring someone on and they just go, I can't say anything for 30 minutes.
So, how was the process of putting rollback into Guilty Gear? We're putting rollback into Guilty Gear.
Redacted.
Was it difficult when they contacted you? Like, how excited were you? We're putting rollback into Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, I think it's great. I'm really happy for the scene. You know, it's not going to make the game be the #1 most played fighting game, but I don't think that's anybody's expectation.
Yeah.
I think that's totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, again,
a couple of my favorite games are ones that didn't even have netcode, I guess, right? They were only arcade release. And when we first got them available to play online in a way that was like actually good, yeah, it was huge, absolutely huge. So I'm excited for everybody who's in that boat.
Yeah, honestly, like I know I keep putting out this pipe dream and I'm setting up terrible expectations, but I mean, between Strive and this, and you know, ArcSys doing a lot of cool things like this, you know, them gaining the experience of ripping out old netcode and putting in new netcode, like, I mean, obviously doing that for Strive would be kind of pointless because, I mean, not Strive, Exerd, because Strive is coming out, so there's probably no point, but still, could you imagine if they just went back and did it to Strive just because? Like, that would be amazing. Oh, man.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. Anything else to say about the +R stuff?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Well, it wasn't the only news related to online when it comes to Guilty Gear.
Oh, yeah?
There was... Yeah, Strive also, as we know, will have rollback, but there will be some quite different ranking system. It's not going to be the same sort of points-based ranking system that like every fighting game has had since that whole, I don't know, since online play was possible in fighting games, I feel like for 30 years, whatever it is. It is, I guess, going to be different in some ways, so it might be that floor system that they had in the beta is going to be used instead, and I don't know if there's any details on that. I haven't seen specific details on how that's actually going to work in the final product, but in any case, yeah, it's not going to be quite the same.
Good.
Is that good?
I hate it. I hate it. I don't like that I'm not going to be able to play my scrub friends on floor 1 when I'm up on whatever obviously I'll be on the highest level. So when I'm up on floor 99 and my scrub friends are down on level 1, how am I supposed to play them?
Well, okay. So that was a lot of the feedback I gave them in my feedback notes. Obviously, I'm not saying they're listening to my feedback in particular, but I'm hoping that they're getting a lot of that in there because I had talked about the ability to do stuff like that. But, you know, if they can maintain a lot of what is allowed, like being able to play your scrub friends or even challenging people on another floor.
Yeah, my understanding is that you can go to other floors.
Right. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, it would be real dumb if I wasn't able to play with my friends and there wasn't a lobby system and all that. Like, that'd be real disappointing. But I'm assuming at this point there has to be lobbies. It's 2020. Come on. So I'm not too worried about it, but I just the floor thing seems silly to me.
Well,
but ultimately it's whatever.
The hardest part is that the beta sucked really badly.
And
so there's very, very like there's 100% justification to be like, this is going to suck. I'm hoping that they do better with it because they've been so good about listening to feedback and stuff. Again, I'm super optimistic about it just because I want Strive to be so good because, you know, me and Guilty Gear and everything. And I have a tremendous bias for Guilty Gear. And plus, I mean, I've talked about how ranked is literally the most miserable experience that one can endure in video games practically. So if they can find a way to make it more fun, more power to them.
Yeah, we've talked in the past about their intentions to make it so that they don't have online modes that split the player base. So this may be part of that, right?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. All right, enough about gear, I suppose.
Yep.
At least for now, let's move on to the next one, which is about Mortal Kombat 11. UMK11. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 11. Well, Mortal Kombat 11
Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate?
I'll never say that in my life.
Kombat 11?
UMK11.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a clear oversight. So they announced Rain as well as Rambo and Melina like a little while ago now.
Continue, please.
You got it. And today they had a combat cast that showed off Rain and some of what Rain can do, including some of the variations. And he seems like a pretty flashy sort of character. He's pretty combo heavy. He's got a lot of launchers. He's got a lot of ways to get combo routes, and it seems like there can be quite a bit of variations in terms of how you, not just that you launch and then you always do the same combo, but that you can launch in like different directions and you can end up in different sides of the opponent and use different tools while you're juggling. So there may be, one of the common complaints that some people have about MK11 is that a lot of the characters don't have like really complex combo routes. And I mean, that's certainly true in some cases, but I feel like Fujin is a character that has more interesting routes if that's something you're into, and it seems like this character could be one of those as well. He's got some real like evasive stuff on the ground, the ability to like swing way back and then attack really far forward. In one variation, in another variation, he has like a real fast strike through. That also in the air is like basically the Baz's dive kick. From
All right.
you dive down. And there's also a horizontal version of that. He has a restand in one variation. He looks like he has pretty good projectiles. He has 2 crushing blow throws, so I'm excited already. And he has a Modok barrier that you can put out that will beat projectiles, so you can like do stuff behind it. He just seems like he has a lot of stuff going on. I mean, many of the characters in MK11 are sort of designed that way. Most of them are not designed like real heavily to one side of like I only zone or I am only a command grab character or whatever. Like most of them have like both a projectile and a command grab or whatever mix up that they have.
They always seem like they try to make the variations so that it's not like slight changes to the same strategy.
So he seems cool to me. The animations are all cool looking. He's got some. He's like one of his buttons. I think his standing low into whatever the follow-up button is on the chain has him basically surf on a wave as he's like attacking you, which is pretty cool looking. He has a dodge, like S-groove dodge, but when he does it, he turns into water. And then if the opponent tosses something at him or tries to hit him, it goes through. But it also like hits the water and like makes kind of like a splash.
Oh, cool.
And like you can hear the sound of water. I think it's really cool looking to me. So I like it. As Brock knows, it's a game that we both think has very strong animations at this point.
So remember in Injustice when Aquaman, his special power was I fall out of your combos?
Yes.
Does Rain have any of that?
No.
Thank God. That was the stupidest mechanic probably ever in any fighting game period.
Injustice 1 was one of those games where they tried a lot of stuff, and
none of it worked.
Like, in the end...
it was a little wild.
I mean, in the end, yeah, it turned out to be really annoying. I like that they tried it.
It's true that Cetron has that, although that requires the random spin of the old dice. So it's not... She has a special move where she can get one of 4 things that come out.
Okay.
It costs a lot of meter, and also it's just, you don't know which one you're going to get.
No.
That's a little less stupid. A little less, but...
Dude,
yeah, anyways.
Did you want to say anything more about Rain? Because I just want to address... I saw your tweet earlier that they're making it so that delayed wake up has 1 timing now.
Yeah. That's exactly
huge, I think.
That is huge. Yeah, Stephanie on the Combat Cast said that that's happening, and then in addition, they didn't talk about it, but you could see that throws were doing 130 damage instead of 140, and that a crushing blow throw did 300 instead of 310. So they're like slightly nerfing throws, I guess. But yeah, this the idea of having only 1 delayed wake up timing is something that I haven't seen many people explicitly ask for. But I think it's intended to get at the common complaint of you can't meaty in this game because there are so many different wake-up timings that you could do, and also some people don't understand that you're actually invincible until you get up, like in almost every fighting game ever made.
UNRF players are wild.
But not in MKX or MK9, like the 2 examples of other games that weren't like that. Anyway, so now you should be able to do more meaties if you haven't been comfortable timing strings and the like. Yeah, So I mean, you have there's a lot of characters who would like to have been doing meaty strings, who players have been real hesitant to, because like, what if the opponent does a delayed wake up time just so that like the first hit whiffs, but then they can get up and do a button before the second hit comes out of the string. And so now maybe those characters can use their strings a little bit more. So it's probably open up offense a little bit.
I mean, obviously, like I'm not a Mortal Kombat player, right? But to me, it just sounds like that makes set play very, very, very strong all of a sudden.
It will definitely make it stronger. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. You guys have fun with that.
I mean, here's the thing.
I mean, I like how it's been. I really like the idea of all this, of the different timings, but
yeah, so do I. I think that's way cooler and more interesting. So, whatever, have fun, Mortal Kombat players.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, like, Mortal Kombat has enough wake-up options, with, like, the parry and stuff like that, I think, that are kind of interesting. I really do hope they make it easier to combo break and roll when you get up. I don't know. Have they fixed that? How
the timing on rolls is the same. Yeah, you just got to get the right timing. You can't be mashing it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's like that.
Hopefully, right. Yeah. But, I mean, it'll be really... I think it definitely makes the set play a lot stronger, and I think that's kind of interesting. But, honestly, like, the kind of... you're supposed to be rewarded when you knock someone down? I don't know. I mean, obviously, you can make fighting games where that's not the case. I mean, sure, there's a lot of games where there aren't a lot of rewards for... There can be games where you're not that rewarded for knocking somebody down. But, because Mortal Kombat is so much more footsies-based, and it's not as vortexy as it was before, I feel like it kind of fits with the theme of the way the game is played. So
there's not a lot of characters that have like really threatening overhead low. Yeah. There's just a couple, and one side of that is always unsafe. So I mean, throw loops will probably be better, which may be why they nerf the damage on throws. And, I think pressure will be better, but I'm not really opposed to it. And while I like the delayed wake up timings, I get why other people thought that was too much. I don't know. I guess I don't really have a strong position on it.
Okay.
Sure.
It's cool.
You're going to adapt to what they changed in the game, huh? This is the FGC we're talking about. Like, are we allowed to do that?
Yeah, what genius said that in the chat? No way. No way. Nobody's going to adapt. Everybody's going to complain. And then the last thing I wanted to say about this was that in the Rain versus Kodal intro speech, Kodal says, "I need neither Reptile nor Ermac to kill you." And Rain says, "Without them, you are finished." Guys, is this saying that the game is finished without Reptile and Ermac?
No, if anything,
is this a secret message that Reptile and Ermac will not be in the game?
No, I feel like, if anything, it's a message that when those two characters come out, the game is finished. They're done.
But without them, you are finished. Yeah?
Yeah, but obviously, he's... they got to be there then, right? Because he's not finished. Kotal Khan is very alive and well.
So my question is that confirmation that they're dead, though?
I mean, you can definitely see Ermac's body. Like, he's in the pit and in the crypt.
Oh, okay.
He's definitely dead.
So is Melina, though. I mean, whatever.
No, for sure. Yeah, you can come back to life. It's Mortal Kombat. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's it. I guess. Yeah, I'm excited for him. He's not the character that I myself am going to be using, but I do think he looks really cool. And like with Fujin, like, I was excited to see what people were doing with that character, and I think he's really fun to watch, even if it's not who I want to use. So I'm more excited about Rain now than I was before, when I was just calling him like Purple Ninja. I didn't care about him at all. Now I think he looks pretty cool. He's got more of a personality, as they all tend to do in this game.
I mean, Ermac can definitely still come back, even being uber dead. His name is based off of the phrase "error machine," so he can do whatever the hell he wants, I think.
Good old Ermac. Ermac. In the old games, they called him Ermac. All right, yeah, I guess that's it. Oh no, they have a new online onboarding process to help people understand the online experience. So when you sign on and play online for the first time, including anybody who has played previously, first time you play an Ultimate, they're gonna have a new thing where you have to play against the AI 3 times to like show you the ropes of playing online, which I think they're hoping is gonna welcome more people into playing online. I don't know what the percentage of people who play ranked is, but from talking with other people about like other games in the past, the percentage of players who actually play on ranked consistently or whatever online mode is like pretty low. So I wonder if that's why they're doing this.
And
We'll
yeah,
see.
shout outs to the chat. You're right. It was Error Macro, not Error Machine. It was Error Macro.
What'd you say, Machine? Yeah, it was Error Macro.
Yeah, okay.
Either way, we're past time, and I'm tired of talking about Mortal Kombat. What's next?
Rambo's more than just guns, also knives, bows and arrows, and traps, according to Stephanie. So take that, Tubbo-ware.
Rambo sucks and doesn't belong. He makes no sense. I will never give that up.
Why
will
do
never
you
give
think
that up.
has? Why do you think? Oh my God, AOC has 300,000 viewers on her chat. I mean,
Hey, good for her,
nothing
man.
else is happening on Twitch right now that you should go watch.
No.
Now let's talk about Twitch.
Yeah, let's talk about Twitch.
Exactly, sure. So Twitch has made the decision to delete VODs that have received copyright takedown requests. And they didn't tell people that this was going to be happening. People just got the notice that, hey, we deleted a bunch of stuff. And they didn't even say, like, here's what we deleted from your channel. They just said, hey, we deleted things. And so they're not... People don't know why. What did I do that was infringing, right? What song did I play or whatever it was? There's not even that level of information about it. It's just a broad message. Hey, we deleted stuff. So I mean, that's... I guess what I should do here is maybe talk about what the law is briefly. So the digital...
Before you start on that, if people are in AOC's stream right now, definitely tell her to contact us, and we will be more than happy to accommodate her on the Tuesday show next week. We would love to.
Guys,
you want to do an
interview? If I had AOC's contact to get her on this stream, do you honestly think I'd be using my connect with AOC to get her on this stream?
Yes.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Yes. Obviously, that's what I would do.
What a great use of your clout that would be.
Yeah, it really would. That would be OD. But anyway.
But yeah, I've had a bunch of my VODs struck because, you know, it's just the ones where I sing on them, because the problem is my singing is so accurate. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking.
Oh, okay. I was prepared to believe it.
Before you get into like the legal stuff, David, I do want to say that with that notice, with that email they've sent people that have gotten DMCA'd, it literally says in the email, hey, we're not going to tell you what else might get struck. So if you feel like you have something that might get struck, you should probably just go ahead and delete it. And we'll give you till Friday to do that. So have fun going through your whole archive, basically. So it's real bad, because they're like threatening people to take them to court essentially if they don't delete this stuff, and they're not telling people what's going to get struck. So people are literally wiping out their entire Twitch archive right now.
They're going to have a Creator Camp live learning session on Wednesday, October 21st, tomorrow. They give you a day's notice for this, where we'll provide an overview of our music guidelines and discuss recent product updates that make it easier to protect your channel, yada yada. Yeah, that's not much. In fact,
no,
that's not anything. What's their music guidelines? I mean, that, you know, they're not going to be like very precise. That's the nature of this stuff. Even if they're people involved in whatever the music stuff is, even if they wanted to be precise, I bet the lawyers don't want them to be. The lawyers would rather them be vague, because you take less liability on yourself if you're vague, if your statements are as broad as possible, than if you just get real narrow about which ones you can and can't play. So that sucks. Yeah, this whole situation is really crappy. What's supposed to happen under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, Section 512, Safe Harbors, is that if a user puts some infringing material onto a provider's site, and then whoever owns the rights to that alerts the provider that, hey, this user has uploaded something infringing, what's supposed to happen is that the provider is supposed to give a notice to the user, and then the user is supposed to be like, oh, my bad, I'll take it down. Or alternatively, actually, I own the rights to this. This is cool. I'm not infringing anything after all. And then the provider is supposed to be like, oh, okay, well, is this infringing? Are you pretty sure about it? Person who's told me that it's infringing. And if that person's like, definitely, it's infringing, then they'll take it down. And then what the recourse is for the user is to take that party to court. So that's like the ultimate, that's the process. And it just never, it doesn't work like that, even for other sites. So like, for example, on YouTube, what happens all the time is that there is a notice that you have infringed something, and that just gets taken down, but not in as obvious a way. It gets muted, or you can't make ad money on it, or whatever, right? It's there. That is what's happening regardless. You have to challenge it, and then yeah, I mean, if Sony Music or whatever is like, we own the rights, then YouTube's not going to back down from that. YouTube's going to let you as the user fight it out, right? So it's a system that is very much built to be in the favor of the rights holders. That's the whole point of it. It was a way to like basically, it was a compromise so that rights holders wouldn't get even worse stuff. Shout outs to everybody involved. And yeah, I mean, this has been bad always. But what Twitch did here in particular was pretty janky because they didn't even give that process. The procedure that's supposed to happen of notice and takedown didn't even happen. It was not notice because notice has to be beforehand. It was after the fact. And then there was no possibility of response. It was just your VODs deleted. And it's not supposed to work like that. So I've already seen some tweets from, for example, a band who plays their own music on Twitch, and their VODs got deleted. Yeah, I mean,
What, like,
I'm sorry, man. It's just funny.
No,
that, like,
it's so
that low level of effort is put in. Like, it just shows how much they don't give a shit.
it's just basically by whatever company owns the rights to their music, basically.
exactly
Deleted the VODs of them playing their music. Oh, God.
If you're Twitch, you are trying to avoid getting sued because your entire product is copyright infringement. That's the whole game plan of Twitch for the past 10 years is we're going to let everybody infringe rights constantly by playing video games on stream and music on stream and whatever else. And we're just going to hope that we're not going to get sued. Maybe that'll work out. And it did, pretty much did. And so they're trying to avoid, now that they're one of the biggest things in entertainment, especially for people in our age demographic and younger, they are trying to avoid further lawsuits or really major lawsuits to start with. And one way they're doing that is to be as acquiescent as possible to rights holders. They're not trying to challenge any rights holders. They're just trying to be like, all right, rights holder, you want to do the thing? Hey, I'll do it. Don't sue.
Don't sue us. Don't shut us down, please.
I mean, that's what, if I were their lawyer, I would say something like that too. I mean, I would have had very different advice as to whether they should be infringing all these rights since day one. But I mean, that's where they are. So yeah, it makes legal sense to me that they would be very broad. But as far as this just mass deletion of things, I don't know if it's okay or not, legally speaking. I'll be perfectly frank. I don't know, and I talk with some other lawyers too, and they also don't know because Twitch has, in their terms of service, the ability to just shut down anybody's channel or content whenever they want. They just have a very broad license to do that. Yeah. And so they can do that, right? That's what they did. Does the fact that the notice and takedown provision in Section 512 mandate this back and forth procedure like overcome that ability to delete whatever VODs you want? I don't know. And I'm not aware of any court case that like directly speaks to that. So I don't have like a great, this is definitely what the law is situation here. I don't know. We're all making it up basically. So anyway, we'll see.
Look,
nobody knows that.
It would be actually really cool if the company that owned Twitch like was run by somebody with a bazillion dollars and had access to the entire like Amazon Music library and could, just say, hey, it's all good and everything,
And the thing is, James, they probably will do that eventually for people that are like Prime subscribers. Kind of like how they do with the movies. Yeah, you can watch all our movies on Twitch and you can share with your bros as long as they're also Prime subscribers. Don't be shocked if that happens with music here soon. Like I could totally see them doing that.
Dude, they'll probably make it so that like if you have 10,000 subscribers and bring in, a minimum of 100,000 views average on each stream, you're allowed to stream any music you want,
Yeah, it's weird.
It definitely sucks. Yeah, it's just an algorithm, right, that they use to decide who's violating, because they're not having individual people go through all of the hours of Twitch. It just wouldn't be possible. So they have an algorithm, but the algorithm is very much skewed towards the right holder's side. Again, I mean that's the whole point of this whole system, is to make it so that the providers, they're called ISPs in the law, but they're just people who host websites. They don't want to be in trouble for what their users do, and rights holders want to be able to bust users for doing stuff. So this is the compromise, and users are not. Nobody was thinking about that really. I mean that's not even true. They were willing to make the process as onerous on users as possible, because the people who were going to pay them money in lobbying, the providers and the rights holders, were the ones that they were paying attention to. So
yeah.
That's copyright. That's been copyright since its inception. It's never been for the little person. It's always been for big business.
How much longer do you think we're going to be able to use the iPhone ringtone as an ending outro song?
That is a good question. That is a good question. Yeah, people in the chat, we haven't been busted on UltraChen. I got busted for doing that public domain jazz stream a couple of months ago now. They muted it. Yeah, it was absurd. And then I challenged because of this process. Like, I know the process. I've done it before for clients, and I know like the law, so I challenged it, and they actually gave in on that. And since then, we haven't been muted. Yeah. But we also just haven't been playing, like, what do I play on here when we're not on Tuesday show? Like StarCraft music and like FX Fighter and stuff nobody cares about. There's no big record label that's out to shut that stuff down.
Like I said, I just sing on my streams. That's all. So
I play DMCA free music on my stream now, and while I'm actually streaming, when I'm actually playing, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on twitch.tv/Tupperware, I don't ever play music while I stream. I just play it when I start up, and that's it. And it's always DMCA free. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to go, to be safe. If I had clients who were Twitch streaming, I would definitely advise them to not play copyrighted music. It's just a big bummer, because one of the main draws for some people whose Twitch streams I watch sometimes is that people like to be in there because they have song requests available.
Yeah.
So you can request any song. They like that some people play certain types of music, certain artists. Like, that's a big draw for them as well. Maybe they like watching whatever game the person's playing, but like they also like that this particular streamer has good taste in music. Like that's a draw for people, for viewers.
It was a draw. It's not a draw anymore.
I mean, when it first got mentioned that they were gonna do this, was the first, like, literally 2 days before that was the first time I started just playing like Breath of the Wild with some random music that I listened to, and people were like, "This is really cool music, James. Like, I've never heard of these bands. This is really kind of neat." And then they announced that, and I was like, "Well, see you later with that." So, but yeah, I mean, we don't know about video game music. Someone just said that they got copyrighted by Tekken for streaming Tekken. So they
got. Oh, did your VODs get deleted? Is that what you're saying, or did you get muted earlier?
I'm not.
In any case, video game music is certainly copyrighted. What is the bigger issue is that the specific rights holders who own some of this stuff are being more proactive than others. So this is all copyrighted, right? Like, all the music that you hear basically is copyrighted. Some stuff is avowedly public domain. It's copyleft, you might say. But basically, like, all the music that you hear on a day-to-day basis is copyrighted, including in games. It's just a question of whether the rights holder wants to be a jerk about it. And some major record labels, most major record labels, they're jerks about it. I mean, that's their business model, is to be very restrictive with who gets to use it, because they want to get paid each time that there's a use.
I'm just going to play classical music on my stream. I think that would actually
okay.
David tried that, and then he got DMCA'd.
Yeah, you have to be careful, because it's, even if the music itself, even if the, to be technical, underlying musical composition,
the performance,
the performance itself, the sound recording, I should say, really, is copyrighted as well. So the stuff that I was using, the ancient public domain stuff, the sound recordings that I used were ones that I at least tried to vet to be things that weren't under copyright anymore. So I tried to get real precise about it, which is why I was comfortable challenging in that case. But as far as game music goes in general, some game rights holders might be proactive about this in terms of getting their stuff shut down, and others aren't going to be. And I can't really tell you which is which until we see what happens. I don't know.
Cool. Well,
that sucks.
You suck, Twitch.
Yeah, totally.
Figure it out.
Dude, I was
Figure it out.
The other day, like, it's such a classic example of things start off cool, and then like the big corporate power gets involved, and it just goes. It's just a worse product in a lot of ways. I mean, in some ways, certainly Twitch is a better website now than it was like 8-9 years ago.
Sure. I
But
mean,
technically it is. But in other ways, it's like it's Amazon running the show, and you can definitely tell in some of their decisions in terms of how they market stuff and these kinds of decisions, and that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
That actually freaked me out a lot, Investigation Cone, what you put in the chat, because I was like, what the? How does anyone? And I was like, oh, it's Cone, okay. That was almost like Psycho Mantis stuff right there. You like Castlevania, don't you? Oh, man.
Yeah, Naughty Senpai. So my solution to that, Naughty Senpai says, I won't stream Mortal Kombat anymore if I have to listen to its abysmal and boring soundtrack. So what I'm doing when I stream Mortal Kombat now is I've gone back and looked through all of the Mortal Kombat games, 1 through X, and I have chosen the soundtracks that I think are good. From all of the stages and all of the character selects and all of the little interstitial stuff, I've chosen, I think, 17 tracks. So it's not out of like 10 games.
20 years of video games. 20 years of video games. You found 17 tracks.
You know,
yeah, and some of those even are like on the margins.
Are you playing this on Steam or
not?
not? You need to figure out how you can swap the actual music files so that you can just play those instead. There's got to be a way to put in your own music that way, and then that way on the character select screen you can get, you know.
Yeah, I think the only good like notable Mortal Kombat music is been character select and like MK1 and MK3. UMK3.
Dude,
those are the standouts. Absolutely.
MK1 character select music is something that'll be burned into, at least not even the music, but just that gong and the ching, 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 and then you move the cursor, ching, 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 ching. It's like 10 times louder than everything else out of the game.
It was really cool in arcade. It wasn't so cool at home.
Yeah. That was like in the KI documentary where they were talking about how they made the whole game a certain volume, but so everyone would set it to a certain volume, but they intentionally made Ultra Combo and Combo Breaker louder than everything else, just so it would pierce through the arcade.
Ilhan Omar in the camera room. That is actually
Wait, what happened?
Important. AOC killed Ilhan Omar in the camera room.
Yo, Omar's in there too? Oh man, well, this sounds
she just killed my representative, so
yeah, let's go.
How dare you, AOC?
I feel like I need to go and watch the archives of this, dude. So
yeah, I'm real curious what the chat looks like right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be reading it. Yeah, I would be
out of like morbid curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Morbid curiosity, I'd have to see.
Oh, man.
Anyway, as far as this question about Twitch, I don't have great advice for everybody. As a lawyer, I have to be general, right? I can't give you specific legal advice. And my general advice is just like don't play music that has any copyright owners who are active in this. And that's a very broad swath of music, and I can't really be specific. It sucks. You know, I wish I could, but
all I remember from the arcades is Colossus going, that's what someone said in the chat. And of course, the other famous one is, lightning attack.
That one all the noise in the arcade, just like a scissors, just right through all the noise, I swear. That sound in particular is burned into my brain.
Well, unlike you guys, I'm not 57 years old, so I didn't grow up in the arcade.
Dude, it's so funny.
I did visit some on occasion.
I actually made a tweet that I was like, man, there should be an age limit on politicians. Like, once you get 60, that you should just be done because you're so out of touch with things. And someone was like, that's ageism. You can't do that. And I was like, I figured I was close enough that I could make the joke. You know, it's like how Chinese people can make fun of Chinese people. You know, that's like the way it works, right? So.
Is James 57? No, James is not quite 57 yet.
He's not quite 57.
Not quite 57. A lot closer to 57 than a lot of people probably want to guess.
Yeah, I was going to say you're closer to 57 than you are 28.
I'm closer to 57 than I'm closer to you, for sure, I think. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Or it's the same anyway. It's maybe the same. Anyway, that's it about Twitch. Unless anybody in the chat has specific questions in the next 30 seconds, I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if you have like specific lawyer questions, and I'll get back to you. I just can't be like, I can't give you specific legal advice. You know the
You have to give him $1 or $5.
$1 or $5.
$1 or $5.
My chest pocket, and then I can give you legal advice.
Right.
That's how.
$1 or $5.
Breaking Bad.
Right. Also,
If you give him $4.19, no way, can't do it.
Also, by the way, I have some important advice for people out there. Don't hit your head with a TE stick even as a joke, because it actually hurts. I wasn't even hitting it that hard, but man, now my neck hurts and I have a slight headache, so don't do that.
Hey, Ultra Chen fans out there, don't hit yourself in the head with blunt objects. James Chen.
And knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe, real American hero. I'm trying to get us DMCA, dude.
Rip.
Oh, man.
We had a good run. All right, next topic. What are we on, David?
That's it. Yep. Now we're moving out to the 5-5 matchup.
Well, we don't have an interview this week, unfortunately. We were planning to interview. Do we want to talk about who we were planning to get on, or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we were trying to get on Persia, aka Sam, to come on and talk about her, path from the FGC to being able to do all the cool stuff for games.
Very famous GameSpot.
But yeah, the GameSpot, yeah. But unfortunately something came up. She can't make it. So we'll try to get her on next week. But because we don't have an interview, you want to take a break now real quick, and then we'll come back and start doing more stuff?
Sure.
Okay.
You got it.
Cool. We'll be right back, guys. We'll be right back.
I saw Persia on a mobile game ad. I believe that. Persia's very famous. Way more famous than any of us.
G.I. Joe, real American hero.
Oh, my phone's gonna die, and honestly couldn't care less. I told people to follow the captions for the
Normally,
insights.
it's actually, we just have it unmuted during this time. I thought we were unmuted this whole time, so, oh well.
All right, let's start.
All right.
Such a hurry, David. What do you have going
All
on?
right, let's start.
Don't, let's start. This is the worst part.
All right, let's start.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuesday show. My name is James here, and I'm joined by Mr. Ultra David, Mr. Tubaware. What are we talking about right now?
We're moving on to the 5 matchup where we talk about stuff, as Tubaware has so accurately described. Let's begin by talking about this stuff over on the right. ChrisG withdraws from Dragon Ball FighterZ Championships.
The left. Talk about this on the left.
And if you look over to the right, you'll see Tubaware, who will discuss this right now.
What am I discussing? Sorry, Discord actually literally froze for me. I'm assuming I'm talking about ChrisG withdrawing from the national championship in Dragon Ball FighterZ.
You got it, bucko.
All right, so here's what happened, guys. ChrisG goes, hey, I'll play in your event, and I know that it's online. So he goes and he tests online. He's like, all right, fine, fair enough.
All right,
but then he goes to play his actual match against Reynolds.
Dragon Ball FighterZ National Championships.
It's a national championship online for Dragon Ball FighterZ. I don't know. Should I go in more in depth than that? It's like a tournament that takes place over like 7 weeks, from what I understand.
Right, but they have different regions.
It's like round robin format, and everybody plays each other, and blah blah blah.
Different regions. This is for the North America one.
Correct. I came in assuming people knew that information. I'm sorry. Regardless, though, Chris agreed to do this thing that lasts about 7 weeks, and he went to play Reynolds, and the connection was subpar. Surprise, surprise. Dragon Ball FighterZ doesn't have good netcode, which everyone knows. Everyone knows that. The people coming in, I feel, knew that. But Chris played his matches, didn't like how it felt. Reynold did troll him a little bit, doing like 6 solar flares in a row. Like, Reynold was himself. That's just how Reynold plays.
Yeah.
And then ChrisG, after the match, dropped out. He said, nope, sorry guys, put a twit longer or whatever. And was like, this is crappy online play. I can't play to even half of my abilities. This is stupid. I don't want to do it. And that was that. A lot of people obviously are very upset about that. Some people came to Chris's defense. I have mixed feelings on it, actually, honestly.
Okay.
Normally, I would say, you know, man up, buck up, just play the damn game, blah, 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 yada, yada. But also, I'm an advocate for strong netcode in fighting games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm torn on that regard because I don't feel like the lowest level of player or the highest level of player should have to play with shitty netcode. Like, you shouldn't. The year is 2020. This was figured out in shooters in the 90s. Why is this still a problem in fighting games in the year 2020? But also, you have to understand that if you're invited to play in one of these things, you're considered one of the best players in the world. Definitely considered one of the best players in your region. Lots of people look up to you. It's not just you're not just playing for yourself anymore at that point, right? Like you're representing an entire scene. You're representing the fighting game community at large. And also, like I said, man, there's a lot of people look up to you. They tune in to see you play. Like, they're a fan of you. So to be selfish and let all those people down, that's shitty. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what's happening with his spot now? Is somebody else going to take?
I have no idea. I haven't seen anything on it.
Yeah,
I hope they replace him. I hope they put somebody else there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would think that there would be like a bye every week, and that seems silly. So, yeah, I hope somebody else takes a spot, and maybe they make that person play Reynold or whatever. They just give them the same result that Chris had, or whatever the case is. I do hope that somebody takes a spot.
Yeah.
I definitely hope that as well. Yeah, I mean, I think that I have similar feelings, I guess. Yeah, it sucks to accept a position in an event that you know is going to be played on a game that you know has bad netcode. You've been playing it for 2 years at this point. And he has known which players even are going to be in it. Like the number, they were announced way in advance, right? It was Chris, Super New and Apology Man, Kuba, Subatomic Sabers, Cloud, Jonathan Tene, and Reynald. And like we've known that for like probably 2 months at this point. We talked about it a while ago. So you could have played with each of these players and found out like right away before the thing actually started that maybe we have even worse connections than like typically is even the case on Dragon Ball. Maybe.
Absolutely.
So I definitely think that I do think it sucks to agree to join a thing to basically make it so that somebody else isn't there, right? Is what it is. Like you're taking a spot. I mean, you're obviously Chris is very well. It's a very strong player. Like it's not that he's taking somebody else's spot per se, but at the same time, if he didn't want to do it, then somebody else could have been there instead.
Yeah,
and that's that's a bummer for whoever that person could have been. I hope that there is going to be a replacement, but yeah, I think that sucks. At the same time, yeah, I mean, I don't like playing in terrible online conditions. I don't have. It's hard for me to be like too negative to condemn him too much because, yeah, it does suck. That's part of why I stopped playing that game. That's not.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where I am with Grand Blue right now. I mean, I really hate the patch. I'm not gonna lie. I do not like how the game is. But regardless of that, not liking where the game is plus shitty netcode, like I can't do it. So like I can't necessarily be that mad at Chris, even though I really want to be because he let all his fans down and all that stuff. Also, like playing online in bad netcode sucks, man. It's not fun.
The biggest problem is that he may have taken a spot away from somebody else, right?
Yep.
ChrisG is obviously talented enough that he'll probably be able to make it into other stuff, but I'll get into that in just a little bit. That's the only part I'm upset about. The rest of it, I couldn't give a crap, right? Because, like, to be honest with you, the thing is, at this point in time, if anybody out there has any kind of preconceived notions of what ChrisG should or should not do, just stop. Because ChrisG is not going to do anything that any of us thinks he should do or expect to do. We know the kind of person he is, and I'm not saying he's a bad person or a terrible person, whatever like that, but he is definitely someone who operates very much under his own whatever the heck he wants to do, and you know, he's also a guy who's kind of willing to accept the consequences in a little bit. Does this mean he's not going to get invited to more invitationals? Probably. Are other companies going to be more mad at him? Probably. Is this going to stain kind of the potential for this? Probably. But you know what? That's just the nature of it. You know, at this point in time, I think we're not going to be able to hold Chris to any sort of standard that's going to deviate from whatever he wants to do right now. Will he grow out of that in the future? Maybe, but the signs of that aren't there right now. He's, like I said, I'm saying that he's immature. I'm just saying he's just going to do whatever the hell he wants at this point in time. And I don't know, just at this point, like, getting mad at ChrisG is like, you know, it's like
old man yelling at clouds.
Yeah, there's just so many ways to that. Like, I don't know. It's like it's wasted emotion to me. It feels like, to be honest with you. So,
you know, I made a joke. You know, yelling at clouds. That made me think. Actually, Cloud really went in on ChrisG.
Yeah, so ChrisG was the one yelling at Clouds.
Really went in on Chris.
Yeah, Chris was the one yelling at Clouds then, basically. So.
Right, yeah. Well, the Clouds are yelling at Chris, I think. They're yelling back for once.
Well, what did he say? What was he...
He basically was just like, you're a giant baby. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. It's not a direct quote. But he's basically like, you're a giant baby. You shouldn't have quit. You knew the netcode was bad. And it's a privilege that you get to do these things that other people would literally kill for. Like, you're getting opportunities that people dream of having, and you're throwing them away because you want to complain about netcode. So, and Cloud just quote tweeted Chris's, you know, statement about quitting the tour and was like, "Man, you suck for this," basically. So you don't see top players calling each other out like that very often. I thought it was pretty interesting.
I know that they don't have the best relationship, but you know, it's good that somebody else, you know, said something about that had that viewpoint. And so I'm glad that Cloud came out and basically saying that. But at the same time, it's just, like I said, it's just wasting your energy yelling at ChrisG at this point in time. ChrisG gonna ChrisG. That's just basically how it works at this point in time. I just, like, what are you hoping happens when you sit there and go, you know, ChrisG, this is a privilege for you? Like, at this point in time, I think we know that stuff is not even gonna faze Chris at all.
So, no, it's right. Like you said, he's gonna do what he wants.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead, David.
I got yelled at by a cat. I do agree that it's a privilege to be in those positions.
Yeah,
of course. And I remember that tweet now that you mention it. And Chris was not. I remember a response. I guess Chris was not pleased to have been told that it's a privilege. That's not something that people say to like devalue. Really, you know, I mean, the intention behind telling somebody that it's a privilege to do something super cool like that is not meant to like devalue the hard work that you put into to become a really good fighting game player or whatever it is. Like all of us who end up being successful in whatever it is, we all basically worked hard, you know. In addition to that, you need other very lucky stuff that is privilege, right? That's what people are talking about. And so, yeah, it's super lucky that Chris like grew up playing at Chinatown Fair. What luck, right? Very, very few people got to experience that. And it's super lucky that Chris has been able to travel around. And although that can take a lot of sacrifice to do, some people just can't do it, just despite however much sacrifice they would like to be able to give, because they just, whatever reason, they can't do that. So there's any number of things that are definitely luck and definitely represent privilege. And I think that it's a privilege to be chosen for this, absolutely. So I mean, I don't know. There are a lot of people don't like that view that luck also plays a role in like how life goes. But
dude, that's just facts.
I think it is.
Opportunity is hard work and good luck. That's the formula. It's when luck meets luck meets hard work. That's opportunity.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know,
anyway.
Man. I'm like I said, I'm torn. I can't be mad at him for not wanting to play online, but the way he went about it sucks.
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty good encapsulation of what I would say too. He should have just not accepted it, let somebody else do it. We all know the netcode sucks. You could make the same point by saying that you chose not to enter because you didn't like the fact that the netcode's crappy.
And I honestly think if Chris was trying to make a statement to the publishers and devs of the game, that saying, hey, they came to me and offered me this, and I told them no because their netcode sucks, that would have been so much more respectful and taken better from the general public than, I hate this netcode, I already entered this tournament, but now I quit, and they should fix it.
Yeah,
just being ahead of the problem is just seems more genuine.
This is just what I mean, right?
I hear you, James. I know.
Even talking about this, even trying to expect this much out of Chris is
Sure. And yeah, sure. I have heard that some other players chose not to play because the netcode is bad. I have heard that was true.
Some people are saying Sonic Fox just didn't go in there because he knew it was bad. So.
Yeah, I just wish those players would speak up and say that I was offered this and I told them no because their online is dog shit. I wish the players would speak up about the stuff, but they're also worried too that if they do that, then they're not going to be invited to stuff later. And I get it, man. I understand the politics.
For sure. All right, I think that's all I got about this one.
Cool, me too. Yep. Next one. Moving on.
All right, cool. Let's do that. Skill-based matchmaking. It's something that we've been talking about lately. And Tom Cannon continued the conversation, saying in a tweet, since I guess we're talking about skill-based matchmaking, I'm genuinely curious, which kind of matchmaking would you prefer when playing online? Evenly matched opponents every time? Or more variance, where sometimes you can beast on people, but sometimes you get beasted on? And in that, this is a poll that he put out there. Even match every time got 65.5% of the vote. Beast and get beasted on got 34.5% of the vote. This is relevant because Tom is one of the developers of Riot's new fighting game, and I'm sure that they're thinking about how to do skill-based matchmaking in the game.
He's just asking because he's curious, that's all.
He's just curious. Hey, apropos of nothing. Definitely is curious, I'm sure, for work-related reasons. So, what do you guys think? Even match every time, or beast and get beasted on?
You go ahead. You start this one, James.
The way that I would say it is that it just depends on how you react, on how the game reacts to it, right? I think it's better to not necessarily have those matches where you can beast on somebody and get beasted on, because it's annoying. I'm playing Teppen. I haven't been playing the ladder much this season. I'm still not in champion right now. I'm ranked A1. And then they pair me up with number 136 in the world, right? It's just what is even happening here? But the reason why it's frustrating is because when you haven't reached champion level yet in Teppen, wins give you a star, losses take away a star, and you have to get 5 stars to get to the next level, right? So whether you lose to Joe Schmo or super awesome player, it's the same penalty. That's the problem. If you are playing ranked matches, and this is something that I even suggested to to ArcSys for their lobby system with the floors, that you just get randomly paired up with someone on a different floor, and it says a floor match, and it shows a different floor match, but the person who has the higher floor has nothing at risk at all. They can only gain 5 points, but they can't lose anything. And the person at the bottom can not gain much, maybe 5 points, and it's just one of those things that you just do it to test your mettle. Because another thing too is that a lot of top players, don't want to play those because they're afraid if they lose 1,000 points. But if they win, they gain 5 points, kind of thing. If you have a system by which you can play somebody at a wildly different range, just categorize it differently and just be boom, nobody really has anything at stake. Here's just something to test where you're at. It's fun, kind of thing. So I think that's kind of how to make it work, to be honest with you.
When I think about this stuff, for fighting games in particular, I think of a few different examples. One of them being, and what you just talked about, James, was present in Grand Blue up until this patch, where if you played a ranked match and you were triple S rank, whatever, and your opponent's C rank, nothing happened. If you it just didn't. Nothing happened. It was just
cool.
Whatever match. because you were so far apart in rank. But the other example I think of, and I think to this day is the best ranking system of any fighting game I've ever played, ever, period, is vanilla Street Fighter 4. They had a tournament championship mode where you would play and you'd get placed into a 4-man bracket and you'd play through single elimination. If you took second place or whatever, you got X amount of points. You took first place, you got like a crown or whatever the hell it was. I forget how it worked. But the way it worked was the more tournaments you won, the higher ranked you became. So when you got high up in rank, you were only playing against, 3 other players that were also really strong with you. It was like a grading system is the best way I can put it. So if you were S rank, you're playing against, Alex Valle and Justin Wong and whoever else is playing the game online at that time. But if you were like a garbage player, like a bronze level player or whatever, you're stuck down in C rank and you're playing against only C rank players. I think that, doing that way, but also showing progression and also not having that much on the line if you lose is the best way to do it. Because when you do rank up, you do play against better players. If you lose, you don't feel like a giant sack of shit and lose all your points on top of it. You just don't leave the C-level bracket. That's all. I think that's the best way to do it.
I don't have any memory of anything like that existing in Street Fighter 4.
That was because you got to play vanilla in arcade, dude. You got to go against play people in real life. I was in Vegas, and if I didn't want to drive to Ruin's house, I had to play online. That's how it was.
Oh,
I guess you're right. Yeah, I really didn't play that game online. That's a good point.
The only person that you had to play against was Ruin. I'm so sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
Daniel's a clown.
That guy's a fighting game genius, though.
I love Ruin.
No, he is very good.
I love Ruin.
Anyway, yeah, I really don't remember that, but that's interesting to know. So I think that what I would prefer, just to directly answer the question, is I do prefer beast and get beasted on. I want to have a wide breadth of opponents for 2 reasons. Well, really the one reason of I want to learn. I want to learn how to play against people. And when I'm playing against people who are at my skill level, I feel like I'm not learning as much. I learn how to overcome the things that are lacking in my game by playing against people who are stronger than me. And I learn also how to manage other players' risky or unorthodox or unconventional decision making when they're a lower level than I am. Those are both really important to me. And playing against somebody who's at my level, to me, I'm not learning. There's nothing to be gleaned from our gameplay for learning. I'm making decisions that are not very different from the opponent's decisions. I mean, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, of course, but I'm not ever in those situations playing against somebody exactly the same skill level thinking wow, very interesting. I learned a new whatever it is, a new strategy, a new combo, whatever, right? So I want to have the big variety in terms of how skilled my opponents are. To me, that's the most effective way to be learning.
I mean, I know that that's something that, helps you personally.
Yeah, this is just my personal answer.
Yeah, I know a lot of people out there that, do have trouble with that. And I actually, weirdly enough, do learn from beasting on people, which everyone says you shouldn't, you don't learn anything beating up on scrubs or something like that. So it's kind of weird. I totally, that's kind of why I would like to have... I don't want to remove the ability to fight the better player or the much worse player, because everybody needs that experience to know where they stand, kind of situation. The hard part is just that, if you're really dedicated to ranking up in the ladder and then you run into some guy who's 3 ranks above you and you're like, what the hell? Now I have to... this is why I keep saying it's a brutal process playing fighting games online, because watching your points go away is it's so demoralizing. Even though the points don't matter, we can all say that as much as we want. I tell people all the time, don't worry about rank, just play for learning. And then I'm trying to fight to get the diamond, and I lose points and I cry because I lost 500 points today and stuff. Dude, I totally get it. It's hard not to let it impact you. But if there's a way that they can just call out, beast big challenge match. I mean, in Teppen, it is giant killer match. They call it out that way, which is kind of neat. And if you do manage to win, you get 2 stars, which is kind of cool. So you do get rewarded for beating them, and but at the same time, like, I feel like if you do have giant killer matches, like, I just think that there shouldn't really be any sort of repercussions on there either direction, because the thing is, if you make it so that only the lower person can gain, then if I was a player and I was a giant killer, then I would, like, beat up on someone until the last pixel and then let them kill me just so they could get a bunch of rank points, because I just would be a homie that way, Show them that I'm going to beat you and then let you get all your points. But if you just make it so that there's no repercussions and it's just there for fun so you could really figure out where you stand, I think that's cool. I don't want to lose that, like David says. It's very important to have those kind of matches. The problem is just the mental problem if you are a person who's obsessed with your rank and then you run into someone ranked super high up and you're like, God damn it, I don't have any chance, why are they putting me, blah blah, stuff like that. So,
well, I would argue that if you see a challenge in front of you and you go, I have no chance to win, you're not much of a competitor anyways, and you can honk off.
You know what? Wow. I don't like that mentality. I really, really hate that thought process because...
Why though?
Because a lot of us aren't trying to be like the best players in the world. We're just trying to get good or have fun and just have a good time and stuff like that.
Play player matches, right? Like, don't play the ranked version, play the not ranked version and have your good time.
A lot of people aren't even not on there, and they like to see the progression of their points. You know what I mean? And the thing about
sounds like you're competitive to me then. I don't know, man.
No, but see, that's not the case. Right? They just want to see a progression of their points, but they're not sitting here trying to get to diamond or anything. They just want to feel like they're getting better. And the whole idea that, if you can't stand the heat, get out of it. Like I've always told everybody, there's about 50,000 different hobbies that we can do out there. The fact that they're even playing fighting games is really important. And if we don't make it fun for them, they can go find something else that they want to do that's more fun for them and more fulfilling for them. Because there is that many things to do in the world. And so by telling people, by gating it, by saying, if you can't take this, then you shouldn't even be here in the first place, I feel like it hurts the community so much more, to be honest with you. That's why I'm like super anti that thought process these days. There's so many like, if I'm annoyed by this, I could go learn a guitar, and then that would be cool in its own way. I could learn to knit. I could learn to program Unity right now. I can try to max out in Tetris.
I was literally thinking in my head, I'll literally tell those people to go learn to knit so they can compete with themselves. Like, I was literally running through my head. You can go knit for all I care. Like,
knitting is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is cool. Like, I'm not downing knitting. I'm just saying, like, it's not competitive. You can see progress. You can see yourself get better. If that's what you want to do, that's cool, man. But like, I play competitively, so I'm gonna try hard. I'm gonna make the games real sweaty. And if you don't like that, that sucks for you guys. Like that's what fighting games are for, in my eyes. It's to be competitive.
Yeah, I just know too many people who just want to play fighting games because they just want to play fighting games. That's not to say to exclude those that are competitive and they want to get better, and then when they, get into diamond rank that they're super ecstatic. I was fucking ecstatic when I got to diamond rank, right? Like, I totally get that. I understand that. But the thing is, I know that my point of view is not the same point of view as maybe 80% of the people out there who are playing. Most of the players are in bronze, gold, and silver.
I don't even necessarily think that you're wrong, James. Like, I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with you. I understand the want to play the game and see a number or a grade or anything like that progress and go, oh, hey, the game is telling me I'm improving. That's really cool. I get that. But also, Arxis did that. Arxis has been doing that for a very long time. They have the little square system where the better player you are and the better people you beat, the square changes colors. You're not ranked on that square, has nothing to do with the ranking, but people still use that as like a barrier of entry. Like, if you're not a pink square, you suck. And people get really mad about it. So I don't think there's a way you can show progression and not make it competitive somehow. Someone is going to use that shit against you. Someone's going to say you suck.
I'm not saying to not make it competitive. these people understand that it's competitive and they're playing competitive, but it's just like, if I sit here and I go up against Michael Jordan in a basketball game, I know I'm going to get messed up. It has nothing to do with the fact that, like, oh, I don't have a desire to get good and to feel like I'm going to get messed up by Michael Jordan, right? It's just the understanding I'm going to get messed up by him. And if you're playing not at that kind of level where I'm like, let's do this, I'm going to be the best player in the world. If you're playing online and you run into someone who's like 8 ranks above you, it's just, it's mentally discouraging. Like I said, I'm not even saying this from my own personal viewpoint, because I like, in a fighting game, I want to fight these guys. You know what I mean? I have no problem with it, but I'm just saying that I know that that kind of mentality gatekeeps a lot of people from wanting to play fighting games, and so that's why I'm so into what ArcSys is trying to do to remove rank and, you know, do all these things like that, because I just think that there's gotta be a better way to get more people to play, honestly, you know.
People are definitely going to be talking about the tower system in the same way that they talk about the square system in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're on floor 9 or whatever it was that was the max, I don't remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are going to have the same kind of reaction to that. Oh, I'm only on floor 2. Oh boy, I really got a lot of work. Like it's going to be,
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, whatever. Try some new stuff. We'll see how it works, but that's my expectation. I'm not saying that I think that there should be, like, it shouldn't be the case necessarily that, like, somebody who is the first rank should play against somebody who's at the highest rank. There should be some, whatever the range is, right? There should be some reasonable range. But I still feel that, for me personally, I would rather play against a range than to have the same skill level against me every time.
Sure. And I mean, if we didn't run out of time, I would say that the option is there to not have skill-based matchmaking in literally every fighting game. So you can have that experience as well as
you just play on player. Yeah.
Matchmaking.
And, you know,
and Zynek also said, what people need to realize is their fun isn't the same as the next person's fun. What you need to realize, Zynek, is that netcode better be good, or I'm going to fly to fucking Japan, and you and I are going to have it out personally, bucko.
And I will say that by taking away the ranking points necessarily, but still having something that still at least shows your strength, makes it so that players can enjoy it at a casual level, at a semi-serious level, and for the hardcore players. There's a way to make it work for everybody, but catering only to the hardcore players, I think, is the mistake. That's just where I come from. That's my opinion.
That seems fine. Seems pretty reasonable. All right, we're moving on to the next one. The next one is...
Oops, I forgot to change the subject the first time. Oops, okay.
Criminy. Is the online fighting game Experience too complicated?
Oops.
This is also inspired by a tweet. That tweet was by Crofts, and it is... Well, it's a meme, I guess, but the text of it is, every other genre, press the gigantic play button and you will be placed into a match. Fighting games. If matchmaking you would like to see, first you must answer my riddles 3. And the pictures that he puts up here are 4. There's the one in League where there's a giant play button, and then there's the one in Fall Guys where there's an even gianter play button. And then there's the one in, I don't know, a game I don't immediately recognize, where there's a giant play button. And then there's the fighting game, which is Dragon Ball FighterZ, where when you get loaded in there, you have, I mean, it could be absolutely anything. There's an arena that your little dude is walking into, and you don't know anything about where anything is at all. You have to literally explore, or find out that there's a submenu that you can just go to directly, which also is not immediately obvious. And then, which one of these spots is where you play against somebody, and there's just a whole rigmarole involved, rather than just being like, let's play.
Here it is.
What do you think?
I don't like the lobby thing they've done for every ArcSys game in the past, like, 5 years or whatever it's been. I think it's cute. I think it's real cool that you can fish for new costumes and whatever. Like, that's real cute stuff. But yeah, I think it's overly complicated. It actually caters to people that don't play on arcade stick too, because you need the right stick to move the camera around. So I don't, as an arcade stick player, I hate that. Also, I think that probably causes some ableism issues as well. But outside of that, yeah, I hate the lobby system. It's not obvious what things do. They give you like this 20-minute tutorial when you turn on the game. Like, come on, man. Like, if I'm a new fighting game player, I already have to play the tutorials for how to play the characters and learn. Yeah. Like, it's too much. I don't need a... Why do I need a tutorial on your menu system? It should be a list of shit, and I pick it, and that's what I go do. Like, yeah. I don't like it at all. I think it's really cute and you know, all that stuff, but as far as actual usage, like the ability to use the product, it sucks.
I feel like I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep on this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've been playing fighting games for so long that it's just very clear to me. Well, for the Dragon Ball thing, like I had to walk around and figure it out, and then eventually I figured out that there's a sub-menu. That was pretty stupid. But for other fighting games, like I know that there's a ranked mode, and I know that there's a casual mode, and I've come to expect that. And sometimes when I play one for the first time, I realize it's a little bit different. And okay, so for BB Tag, I have to like walk into a lobby, like a digital physical space.
BB Tags in particular is very difficult.
And then, then I have to like stand in front of somebody else. Yeah. Like there was a whole learning process. Again, cute, but like just give me a second.
Gotta run in circles to find somebody else who's running in circles.
Yeah, and then I'm walking around with a big Tager or walled avatar. And there are people who are like, I don't want any part of this, and then they walk away. That happened many times.
And then the worst part is like every station is taken up, and you're running around, and you find one guy who's free, and you try to challenge him, and he just runs away from you. Like, dang it! So you run around in circles again.
Super fun.
Absolutely has happened to me.
And then you run around in circles again, and then you see the guy who's free. Oh, it's the same guy. Yep. And then you run around in circles. Yeah.
Like, that definitely sucks. So eventually I just started wearing a Ragna avatar, and it all ended up being okay. Lied to people. But as far as other games, like I expect when I log onto a fighting game that there's going to be a ranked mode, that there's going to be a non-ranked mode, that there's going to be like a lobby system that I can set up. I just have these expectations. So I don't really know how it feels to be somebody who goes into that world and is caught off guard by it, because I've been doing it for 15 years, I guess. It's just hard for me to know, really, but I do know that when I sign on to other games, like I used to play League, it was obvious. It was a big button that said play, and that's what I would do. And I would just click that button, and it would all work out. Yeah, that was easy. Same with Overwatch. Overwatch was very clear. Like, you know, those experiences are certainly a lot easier to get into. So, sure, I suspect that if somebody else is having that experience from other games into fighting games, but it's not clear, it's like there's this whole riddle situation that you got to answer. Yeah, I imagine that would be frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with David because like I hadn't really thought about that part of it. You know, I've always been kind of anti-ranked mode because I just don't think it's creating an enjoyable experience for a lot of people out there. But I'm so used to fighting games that the whole where's ranked, even because every game puts it in a different place. Some games have it in the online submenu. Some of them have it in the battle submenu. Some of them have it in the... But for me, it was always been like, where is it? Where is it? There it is. Okay, let's go. And you play. I hadn't really thought about it, but when I saw Croft's tweet, I was like, you know, he has a really strong point here. He really does. And yeah, fighting games are tricky because they have a lot of small other separate things. Here's training mode, here's trial mode, here's blah, 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 all these different things out there like that. But honestly, the top menu should just have a play, go to ranked match, you know, and the ranked match, you should, like, it literally should be like play, giant green button, and a little settings icon on the side. And then you click on the settings icon, and that's where you can set, you know, preferred rounds, preferred console or on platform opponents, or, you know, can I do this or whatever, stuff like that. But otherwise, the play button should just be there, and it should just take you online right away. Look, fighting games, unfortunately, are going to be super complicated. The thing about it is, I just don't think that if a game like League of Legends had a much more complex menu, that it would really be doing that much worse.
I feel like they probably put in a lot of research into that. I would not be surprised at all to find out that they actually have spent a lot of time trying to figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that there's a problem here, which is that when you press the play button there, it's in a context where you just have one, well, maybe two player, like you have modes, right? And there's the play button. more or less. Whereas in fighting games, yeah, are you playing offline? That's going to be different. Are you going to play offline? Say it's Mortal Kombat, and there's offline tournament mode, and then there's an online where it's ranked. I mean, I guess now that I think about it, when you go into Mortal Kombat, and then there's like the play option, there's local match, tournament match, online, some other crap that I can't recall, and then when you press online, then it's like, do you want to play in ranked, or do you want to play in this kind of player match, or that kind of player match, or that kind of player match, or this other kind of private lobby, and this other... It's actually super complicated now that I think about it. And yeah, I think that I've just been doing it for so long that has felt natural to me until like maybe this exact instant.
David, you understand that like that applies to fighting game just overall too, right?
Yeah.
Like all these things that we do as fighting game players, we're used to as fighting game players, right? Like it's not even just the UI of the games. It's literally playing the games, and a lot of it doesn't seem that hard to us, but to new players, they're just like, what the hell?
Of course.
The fact that whenever I play against people offline, when we were capable of that, and we would start up a machine, and then the first thing that I would almost always do is go to training mode, even though I meant to go to versus just out of muscle memory habit, just kind of shows how much we've kind of just, like, complex menu, woo! It's like, we don't even care anymore. But, yeah, I mean... It's true, because I mean that's why people don't make a CVS2 kind of game anymore, where you're like, let me pick the characters and then the groove and then the ratio and all that stuff like that, because it is...
Are you sure they don't, James? Because in Street Fighter V, you pick the character, you pick the V skill, you pick the V trigger, and maybe one day you'll pick a super too. Who knows if they have that?
But that
like, I don't agree that they don't make those games.
But that was after 5 years, and it wasn't there the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you're not wrong there. It didn't launch that.
That's the thing. It was a slow progress. CVS2 is like, here you go. Oops, sorry, cat. Sorry. I scared my cat. Sorry. Yeah, and actually, Street Fighter V is actually one of the better ones about it, because the top menu does just have ranked, casual, and blah, blah, blah right there and then.
Yeah,
and so Street Fighter V, I know people don't like to say good things about Street Fighter V, but Street Fighter V has done a lot of good things, and so I think that they did a pretty decent job with the menu, but...
You can find matches while in training mode, which is great. Yeah. That's always been a plus from that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not like a new feature though. Like that wasn't like.
No, it's not that they didn't come up with that, but some games still don't have that.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So honestly, I hadn't thought about it when I read John Croft's tweet. I was like, yeah, actually, he's kind of right about this. I don't know if the right answer is play button, because like you said, what are you playing? Because offline is a thing for fighting games. So it's a really good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the answer is, but there's probably
that's worth for fighting games.
What's that?
I just don't think it can be that simple for fighting games, but it can certainly be online, ranked, not ranked. Like it could be that simple.
Yeah.
But as far as like play, like I don't think we can do. Like it's just not that type of video game.
I think David has a good point. The fighting game companies probably need to do the same kind of research into UI design that Riot probably has done in League. So.
And not just Riot. I mean, there are several examples that Cross even puts in here, and then I've played other games that have similar ease of use.
Because clearly Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite's menu was a placeholder that they never finished.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Facts, James. Yeah, the whole UI of that game is just...
Yeah. So, probably second worst fighting game UI in the last 10 years.
What is first? Is that your favorite game, Samurai Showdown?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty bad.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably bad.
2 pages for character select is the dumbest thing.
Just an incredibly bad decision.
Yeah.
Interesting that King Vasuki says, I don't know anything about UX. I never studied this stuff. But there's a criteria in UX that I was taught, King Vasuki says, number of clicks times amount of time equals probability that people will close the window. I can see that. I myself have this experience of, maybe not in fighting games because I'm so accustomed to it, but sure, I've been in situations where I've just... In fact, you know what, now that I think about it, in fighting games, you know how when Street Fighter V you sign on and then it wants to tell you like what costumes are available or some nonsense?
Yeah.
I've never read that. I to this day, honestly, have no idea what it means. And it took me probably 2 years to realize what button it took to get out of those menus, because I mashed every single time. I literally didn't look at the screen and I was like, get out of here, every time for years. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I get
Street
it.
Fighter 5 also has that, like, you have to, like, scroll down and accept when you start every time, like a EULA or something like that. So, you know, oh, those are the daily tasks? Oh, I've never looked at that at all.
Yep.
Yeah, who knows? I didn't know. Yeah, sometimes you have to scroll down. So I'm literally doing this with the stick and mashing the buttons. I didn't even want to look at it.
No, actually,
Anyway,
Shay actually
nice to have
brings a
that.
good point. That's why removing Google as your search engine on Android takes 15 clicks. That's also why it takes 19 clicks to defriend one person on Facebook, and you cannot defriend them in bulk. That is exactly why, because they know the more clicks that they put on it, the less likely you're going to do it.
Yeah, they don't want you to do it.
Oh,
At one
God,
point, I went
Zynac,
from about 1,000 friends
Dude.
down to 200, and that took me many, many hours.
Yeah, and Zynac,
Many.
Whenever I mentioned this too, I start Soul Calibur on PC, a different button is accept and back. And then on Street Fighter 5, it's 2 different buttons. And then on Marvel, it's 2 different buttons. And then just yesterday, I turned on my Soul Calibur, and for some reason, all the buttons were in different places. And my start button didn't work at all. And I didn't do anything. My controller was plugged in the whole time. I started like I always do, and every button on my joystick was in a different place. I literally had to quit the game and come back in just to get the buttons into the right place. Like, it's... Anyways, yeah.
Pretty weird. Well, at least now in Japan, they're going to be on the same standard that the rest of the world has been when it comes to PlayStation and the accept and back out button.
That's true.
Are they really going to do X as confirm and circle as back? They didn't make us change. They made them change.
I mean, because apparently it was.
This was Sony Japan's idea. We didn't make them do anything. Sony Japan's like, we're gonna be like everyone else.
But it also wasn't like it was the United States versus everyone else in this case, where it's like, you know, if it were just one country that had it the opposite way, okay, fine. No, it was Japan and the rest of the world, is my understanding. So yeah, if you're gonna have a standard, it's easier to just make the one region change.
Yep.
But circle being, I've always hated being yes and being no.
We're for sure dumb. But circle should have been the bottom button. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yep, they should change where circle and X are.
Do not change that. I've been playing PlayStation since 1996. I would be so pissed if that changed.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but when they were designing it, they should have made those two different.
Yeah, for sure.
Good luck to those Japanese players out there. Whoo boy.
Yeah,
I play on PlayStation, and it's like I'm constantly switching back and forth between the two standards. It's really not that big a deal.
That's because we import games, dude.
It's not that big a deal.
There's no one on this show that's under 30 years old. No one. We're all old men.
Yeah.
You were born in '97? That's cool. I don't know. Who cares? I mean, congratulations.
Grumpy old man David yells at children for being young.
I was born in a year as well.
I'm waiting to see our viewer count drop by 1 right now.
I'm thinking, man.
Man.
And also facts. CZ is never coming back. He wants his money back on his sub.
Hey, not bad. It hasn't changed. Okay, all right. Next topic.
All right, I think that is about it for this. Oh, did we run out of time anyway? Perfect.
Yeah.
We're a lot of time.
All right, very good then. Let's skedaddle into the viewer questions for 5-5 matchup. We had some interesting ones today. Any chance that you wrote these down? I don't think that you did this. Did you?
I did.
You did. Hey,
look at James. He did it.
James, let's do it. All right. Question number the first. Are there styles of fighting game characters that haven't been invented yet? Or that have been invented but haven't been explored enough yet? 2. Which Street Fighter game has had the highest level of competition at its top level? Wow, contentious. 3. Should the FGC be concerned about bringing up new tournament organizers in addition to already established groups? Do new TOs face a barrier to entry? And if so, is that unnecessary or helpful quality control? 4. What's the general consensus on the value of aesthetics and character choice? How do you value the look and feel of characters in games? 5. Will online tournaments have worth in a post-COVID world? Is there value in having high-level competition over the internet once we can play offline again? 6. With Guilty Gear Strive and UMK11 being the only fighting games with next-gen releases, and not even exclusively next-gen at that, what can we expect in compatibility and support for current fighting games on PS5 and Xbox Series X? And how important will any such support be? 7. Are esports competitors playing a game or doing a job? 8. What do you think about simplified inputs? Do different input types and motions make characters feel different? And then 9. How are we going to make the LGBT community, African Americans, disabled people, veterans, etc., feel happier and safer being at events in the future? That's, by the way, that has not won the poll here, but we've talked about that many times in the past, and it's very important, of course.
Oh, we're back. Sorry.
The winner is 5. Will online tournaments have worth in a post-COVID world? Is there value in having high-level competition over the internet once we can play offline again? What do you all think? Hit me with it.
Yes. I think they will be super important. I've already said that I believe the arcade to console transition was an important transition, and the transition to acceptance of online being something that is skillful because we'll have better netcode, and the importance of it is the next generational transition that a lot of people are going to fight against, but eventually 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, it will seem silly that we even had this conversation, just like the console conversation. So I think it's super important.
But do you think, it sounds to me like you think it might be a situation of like fighting games will always be online? Like, could it be like a transition from StarCraft Brood War to StarCraft 2, which would start with always online situation? You had to like get matched up even locally?
Oh, no. I don't want that. No. I'm just saying that online tournaments are going to be super important, and I think that they are absolutely needed and justified. I mean, even just us running our own show, You Can Scrimmage right now, we're getting people who just never will have the chance to go play in a tournament ever in their life without it. And maybe as a result of them playing in that and playing in the Reddit Street Fighter tournament, that they find out something, and you know, the Reddit Street Fighter tournament, they do such a good job in trying to make sure the environment feels welcome. We try to do the same thing in the Show You Can Scrimmage. It could really introduce people to a cool thing that they'll really like. So I think online is super important. Do I think it should replace offline events? No. Do I want offline events to always still be the most important thing? Yes. But online events are going to be very much an integral part of the entire fighting game community, and something that we need to focus on and make sure that the games themselves advertise these online tournaments and make it so like, tournament is happening, ding ding, enter, you know, stuff like that. So I think that this is something that is going to happen. We need to embrace it, and we have to stop being like, you're just an online warrior. No, that's going to go away, because we used to be like, you're just a console player. You don't know anything. You know, it's the same transition.
We did used to do that. We were real uppity about it.
Mm-hmm.
Nerds.
Yeah, I think that, well, for sure. So COVID is a very stark example of having to play online, because almost everybody is in that boat, right? Very few people live with somebody else who they can play against regularly in a fighting game, right? That's just not a common experience. So this is one where we're almost all having that. But the truth is that lots of people can only play online at least some of the time. There are parts of the world that get shut down by Blizzard sometimes. Sometimes it's just too cold to go outside. How are you going to play a fighting game?
Snowing outside right now.
Is it really? It was 90 degrees here today. Wow.
There is like 6-7 inches of snow on the ground. In
What are you
Minneapolis.
guys talking about? You're talking about the same place. Clearly, I'm just looking out my window, and you two are looking out the exact same window.
Yeah. To the window over here on my left, it was actually in the 80s today. Now that I think about it, but on the window on Tubo's side, it was snowing. Fantastic. Very interesting.
Okay. That makes more sense. Okay, thank you.
Very interesting.
As long as you clarified, it was two
Weather is
different
wild.
Two
The
different
weather's crazy out
windows
here.
makes it make sense. Okay, all right.
So we all go through phases where we can't go outside. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you got injured. Maybe you only have half an hour. Maybe you have an hour to play video games, and that's just not worth the 20 minutes it would drive to your buddy's house or to a local or whatever. It's just you don't have enough time. So we all have these experiences of just not having enough time or whatever for other reasons, can't leave our houses. We got to have good online play, man. This is something that we've been asking for since way before COVID. This experience has been the biggest factor in why that's been so important for us lately, but we have been asking for a rollback a long time, and not even just rollback, but good rollback netcode. We've been ripping on SF5, and it's bad job of doing rollback since day one.
Why'd you hesitate saying that, David? What would hold you back from saying that, David?
Maybe
Can
some other things.
Can you elaborate?
Some other things ran through my head first, and I decided on bad job.
Sure, okay.
So this is something we've been looking for forever, and it is important, and will continue to be important. I agree with James, and I'm sure Tubo agrees that offline play should always be the focus, but that's just not. It's not practical at all times, or even very often for most of us. So having good online play and tournaments online will definitely still be needed after COVID.
So what you guys literally just described is what shooters have been doing since like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Where you play online, you have these tournaments online, and like, yeah, money can be on the line, and they can still be prestigious and all that stuff, right? But the real majors, the real shit, the actual super major events, they're all offline. They're all on LAN. They're all played offline. And I talked about this on the show before, but even like in the CSGO community, which very obviously is 98% online, right? Like you play shooters online. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Even in that community, their fan base will make fun of teams that can't win offline. They're like, oh, they're online only. All they can do is win online. And there are teams that have way more success when, the ping is 80 than when they're playing on LAN and the ping is immediate, it's 0. So, I guess I think this is where we're going. I think where we have to go, where we should have gone long ago.
Yeah.
However, I am worried that these fighting game companies are going to invest in their netcode now, and they're going to be like, all right, we're going to start running our own tournament stuff online, and it's going to be primarily online, and you're going to have to qualify online, and that's going to cause problems, man. Like, it doesn't matter how good your netcode is, problems happen through the internet. Like, that's just facts. Like
people still go to majors
people can't connect to each other.
People still go to majors for KI, still go to majors for Skullgirls, for for all this stuff. Even though the online's good, it's always better to play offline, of course.
And at the end of the day, we only take the offline results as like the very serious, like this is what actually matters at the end of the day, right? I really just hope that isn't lost, because playing fighting games offline, no matter how good your netcode is not the same as playing online. It's just playing offline is a better experience. Yeah. It really shows truly who is the better player, I think. So I just hope that in this transition we don't lose sight of that. Yeah. So I like, in my mind, it doesn't really compare to arcade versus console, because that was just elitism bullshit, right? Like, that was just we're arcade players, you scrubby 09ers or whatever. Like, that's sure, I understand that hazing, but this is like an actual natural progression thing where I don't want to lose sight of the fact that playing offline is still way, way stronger and better and more reliable than playing online.
Well, I don't want to say that I think that that people who spend time to get good at offline or online, that one of those is like inherently, that there's some inherent superiority in one or the other. I don't think that that's my position.
Like I
I subjectively prefer offline, and it's what I want to keep focusing on. But for online play, there's just different tactics that work, different strategies that work compared to offline, and I don't know that that's
not the real game.
That's not
the actual game.
I don't think that's right. I think that they're both the real game.
Yeah.
I just subjectively prefer the offline, and it's what I hope that we keep focusing on. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that I think that online play is not the game.
Okay, so in good rollback netcode, you generally have a buffer window, right? That buffer window is usually between 4 and 6 input frames, or 4 and 6 frames for your inputs. Therefore, intrinsically, just naturally, in good rollback netcode, you have 4 to 6 frames of input lag, no matter what.
It's not usually that high.
It is, though. It is. I want to say KI is like 4 or 5 or 6.
I think Mortals is 3, and I think Skullgirls is 1 or 0 even. Like they got
no. Skullgirls, you get to pick. You get to pick what your delay is.
Look,
but regardless, I don't think you're adding input delay into the game.
You are adding input.
That's not the natural game. That's not how the game was designed. That's not how the game was meant to be played.
I'm not sure that's right.
I don't. Here's the thing. I find it funny that you did call the console to arcade to console kind of like this weird elitism that's not real, and that this online offline thing you're arguing is different. This is my exact point. 5 years from now, we're gonna find this conversation silly. That there's
maybe I hope so.
Nobody's gonna balk about that. That online is gonna be the same. No one's gonna think any differently, because trust me, as someone who grew up in the arcade, and I could still probably sit down right now and be like, no, look, you're wrong. I'll tell you why arcade is different and better than console right now. Like, I could probably argue that, but I know it's silly. You know what I mean? Like,
the best thing to say is just that you subjectively prefer one or the other. Right. It's not that there's not some inherent superiority. It's just you prefer offline. I do too.
I think offline is inherently superior. I think that's how the game was designed and meant to be played. Right. When they were designing the actual video game, they weren't like, well, sometimes there's going to be 3 to 4 frames of lag in your input, so we should make this punish window bigger. Like, no, that's they made a 1 frame punish window for this move because they wanted that move to be hard to be punished. Like, that's then all of a sudden you play online and you just can't punish it anymore on reaction.
I'm not sure any devs have that decision making there, but
you're right. They don't, because they just design the game for offline and they add the online play later.
I also just don't care what their intentions are. That doesn't matter to me. I don't care if it's
Hey, David, remember when we used to make fun of players on pads?
Yeah, sure. For sure. And by the way, Tubo, the console versus arcade thing didn't start with you and your precious Street Fighter 4 in 2009.
Look, man, I know you guys played CVS2 from console and whatever. I get it. I was just saying 09er because that's when I came in. That's all.
All good.
Because, I mean, if you really wanted me to go into this, so like Vi is even saying in the chat, the one thing you can argue about OG SF arcade versus console, the ports on console were whack. Yes, that is absolutely true.
That's something I would be down with, though. Like, I would have agreed with the arcade guys.
Right, but
I'd have been like, yeah, like this isn't the real game. Like, this is a fucked up version of the game. That's not the real game. The same way I feel about online play. It's not
tell you right now that doing a DP on an arcade machine hits differently than doing a DP at a console machine, no matter what controller you have, unless you have a giant 50-pound cabinet. Like, honestly, when I do uppercuts on fucking Super Turbo and I smash that controller and the console doesn't go anywhere, that shit hits differently. And when you're playing next to somebody right there and you're rubbing elbows with each other, that shit hits differently. But again, that's just the internal bias that I have with the environment that I grew up in. That's just all it comes down to, right? So that's why that's how I feel about the online versus offline kind of thing. So
I want to smell my opponent, James. I want to be right there. And we're not talking about one of those big cabs, you know, where you had all the nice room. No, I want those little tiny ones that we used to have on the stand-up machines. Just get the elbows battling. That was the best.
Man, those side-by-side cabinets, those are ableist, right? Fat guys don't fit on those cabinets, and I prefer head-to-head because of it, okay?
The thing is,
I want my own arcade.
I mean, you're right, but also nobody really fit on those cabinets. I'm not sure who they were ever designed. Because I never had an experience of playing on one of those close stand-up cabs where one of us wasn't like swung out way to the side and had to play in kind of like sideways position, or like, you know, we were rubbing elbows. Never had that experience. So.
They designed them for like 7-year-old kids. They're like, oh, kids will play video games. They're tiny. This is fine.
Yeah,
so anyway, look, I mean, I enjoyed that period of time. I was one of the people who at first didn't play on console. Sure, I mean, part of it was I didn't want to buy a stick. I didn't want to make a stick is really what it was at the time. I didn't play games that I felt had the same kind of experience at home, but other people who I knew were. So when I was going to college and living in LA, I just was lucky enough to have multiple really good arcades near where I was. So I never had to worry about that. When I then went to law school in DC, there were no arcades left by that point in DC. And so all the time I got to play was just console. And I felt it was stupid at first. I remember that. I remember thinking that I can't believe these people are playing on console. This is a joke. And as I was playing with them, I realized these are good players. Some of these folks are actually super legit. And sure, their version of Third Strike is like a little bit different than the one that I'm used to playing on, but like it's basically the same thing. And then I would go home and I would play at Family Fun again, and I would actually be better because the Third Strike that was in the arcades was slightly slower than the one we were playing on consoles. So my terms were actually a little bit better. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, let's face it. Can we really say players like Punk and Smug weren't born and raised online? And they're like,
dude, it's too. I mean, this is not even like a 2020 conversation.
Right.
This is like a Wolf Throne bursts onto the scene in like 2010.
I think online play is totally legit. I just don't think it's the same as offline. Is all I'm saying.
It's not the same. It's not.
Yeah,
and I just think that.
And what's interesting too is because you talked about what the developers' intention is, and some of the developers are trying to do that now, right? Introducing one frame of input lag offline.
Zynax said in the chat that they did that for KI. So
what's that?
If the game, Zynax said in the chat that they did do that for KI. That they did apply some stuff. But we're over time. We can go on to the next topic.
Okay.
So I had thought that the one that was going to win was one that didn't end up winning, and so I think we probably have the wrong thing written down here.
Thanks, David.
Shoutouts to me. 3 is the second place winner.
Okay.
Should the FGC be concerned about bringing up new tournament organizers in addition to already established groups? Do new TOs face a barrier to entry, and if so, is that unnecessary or helpful quality control?
I think that anybody who has been part of the FGC for a long time now knows damn well that we do need to have quality control on TOs that make real big promises out of nowhere. Now, if you're just like a dude who's like, I want to run my local, whatever, nobody's gonna, think twice about it. Like, sure, man, bring in the consoles and run the tournament. Great. We're happy to have you.
Yeah. If somebody does that, that's great.
If you're like a John Nelson and you're like, I have $100 million in prize pot and we're going to run this in Trump Tower, Paris, and all these like crazy promises. And we've seen it too many times where these people come in and think they can essentially, run us over and make a quick buck on the fighting game community and don't live up to their promises. So anybody who's been around for a while now is going to be concerned when things like that happen. So I don't think it's a terrible thing to vet some of these guys and see if they're legit. But I don't really think it's. I don't think they necessarily have this big barrier of entry to start running tournaments. I mean, most of the people locally who run tournaments just decide one day, hey, I'm going to start running tournaments, and they find a venue and they invite people on Facebook and Twitter and whatever, and that's how it goes.
I avidly agree with you. Yeah, that's been my experience. All the people I know who have wanted to become TOs have been people who have already been playing fighting games for a while. I don't know anybody other than people who were just hucksters who decided to go from not playing to like running tournaments, right? Like almost everybody, especially all the real established tournament organizers, have been people who have gone through the process of player, sometimes have continued to be a player, and then also, I would rather also focus on tournament organizing, and it's just there's the process that people have gone through. I think that process like kind of is a vetting process in a way, and I think that's okay. So I would rather trust somebody who I've seen around for a long time and haven't heard shady stuff about, right? I would rather trust somebody in that kind of position than somebody who I haven't heard of before, or somebody who's just been real. outside of things and then is coming in promising a lot, for sure. I would rather believe somebody. I would be more likely to believe somebody who has been around, who then promises big stuff. Yeah. So I think that's okay. Like I'm okay with that process. I'm not necessarily opposed to somebody coming from outside of the FGC even, or from somebody who hasn't been a player beforehand, just turning themselves into TO. I'm not like inherently opposed to that. I just would need to see it to believe it. Yeah. So I wouldn't start out by like betting that somebody is going to run a great tournament or that they're going to pay out everything that they promised to pay out. I wouldn't start out that way. But if they come in and they do that, and then they run another one, great. I'll be there. I'll support you at that point. I just wouldn't start out by like expecting it to work, and that seems pretty reasonable to me.
I feel like we're pretty good at that now because of our history. We've had it happen way too many times. I mean, someone mentioned them in chat, Avid. We were just like, right.
Well, actually, I was going to mention that. I want to correct people right now about Avid.
Oh.
People, don't know the story behind that at all. Nobody knows. I know. You guys don't know. Secondly, Avid actually ran. You don't know either, I don't think, Dave. You might, but I don't think you do. Avid ran one tournament. And you know what that tournament was?
Yeah.
Combo Breaker. And it was fucking incredible. So Avid, in my eyes, has a fantastic track record because they helped Combo Breaker happen one year, and then the company got sold and they didn't do anything beyond that. But Avid didn't actually do anything bad to the FGC. People just know that they popped up, said, here's money, and then disappeared.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were also rightfully skeptical about the Prince Panther situation.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we should always be skeptical.
We're a little bit better about that now. But, if you want to build up a tournament, it's not going to be any different than if you're trying to build up a weekly. It's not going to be any different than trying to be a good player. It's just consistency. It's the way a lot of things work. You don't get promoted to the higher position until you've done the work of the higher position for a year or two already. Right. You have to prove yourself first. And, we're getting pretty good at that at this point. And, I think we're, with all the things that have gone down, with all the call-outs about all the misconduct in our community and everything like that, like I said, people are always ask me, like, how long do you think it'll take we go back to normal? And my answer is always, I don't want to go back to normal. I want to go back to better. And I think we're trying to do that right now. So I'm hopeful.
So this question...
Hey, corrected me in the chat real quick. You said Avid also supported NCR. I didn't know that. So I guess they're 2 for 2 and then they disappeared. Good for Avid.
So this question was proposed to us by Doc Fugu. And he posts in the tweet below that background, there is an upcoming Japanese COVID charity tournament that does a lot right. Officially Capcom license, Jesu, the Japanese esports union, has a theme song, Dogura and Sako as guests. So that's a lot of good stuff. But 10 days before the deadline, had 3 teams signed up when they expected 128.
Oof. Ooh, rough.
That's rough. This might not be a great time to do that. I mean, this is... I understand that Japan has been not as disastrously terrible about COVID as our country has been, but that still doesn't sound like a fantastic idea. I don't know.
Look,
in any case, maybe it's an advertising issue, or maybe it's just people who, like I was saying earlier, like they want to see like what your second try is. The Japanese FGC is pretty different in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to tournaments and who has run tournaments and where the money and backing has come from that stuff. Hasn't really been as grassroots historically as it has been in many other parts of the world. So I don't know that it's the same experience necessarily.
So just unless you're like DreamHack or ML, ESL that has all this. Well, I guess they're the same thing now. That have all this money and stuff like that. Just like, and nobody's heard of you. Like at least DreamHack and ESL have a reputation now. They've run big events and stuff like that. But don't try to start so big if you come out of nowhere. That's one of the hardest things, is that all these companies come in are like, we're going to be the biggest thing humanly possible, and we're going to be amazing. Like, you know, I mean, one of the reasons why Combo Breaker is so good is because Rick's like, I'm going to make a tournament that people are going to enjoy. I'm going to try to make sure it's safe for people. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to put a lot of cool things in there. I'm going to have a 24-hour arcade. It's going to be cool. I hope people like it. Like, just learn from that, man. Just organic growth. Organic growth. Esports is a giant cesspool of non-organic growth. And it's what is going to kill esports in the end. We need freaking market correction in esports. Just grow organically. Stop going the venture capitalist route and just do thing like slow and steady wins the race, dude. Like, if you want to be that TO that's going to have the biggest thing ever, you know, freaking get in line, right? And just take your time and do your shit. That's it. That's it. Do your thing and build the reputation.
Alternatively, James, be a venture capitalist, hire Ultra Chen TV to do your commentary at a premium rate. We promise all three of us will deliver very high-level commentary and hosting abilities. So be that venture capitalist, throw lots of money at us before you go bankrupt, because you're going to lose all your money for sure. But give us some of that money in the process, please. Yeah, in cash, upfront, 50% minimum. Please.
So Doc Fugu says that this is an online tournament after all, so it's not offline.
Okay.
And also that it's up to 20 teams now rather than 3, but still, they're looking for 100.
That makes me question how they advertised it then, because if it's an online tournament, Street Fighter V is a very popular game in Japan. It's weird to me that nobody signed up if it's online.
Well, they said they dropped the 600 yen entry fee or something like that, and then a bunch of teams showed up. So I guess there was an entry fee, and in Japan, $60 and 6,000 yen. Sorry, but the thing is about it is Japan
per person, right? It's a 3v3.
Japan doesn't have entry fees, so that's probably something that people aren't used to over there, right? That's a risky thing to do.
It's a donation. It's not an entry fee that you then get paid out in the prize pool from.
So they were trying to force people to pay a minimum $60 donation, is what you're saying.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Then I think that's whack. I wouldn't have entered either. I mean, like, if you want to require a donation, like, that's fine. But don't make it like $60 or $100 or even $1. Just if you donate any money, you can enter the tournament. Cool. That seems way better to me.
It's tax deductible if you do that. So yeah, as Fugu says in the chat, they did lots of paperwork to make that happen. So it sounds like they're trying to make it on the up and up, but I just don't expect a lot of your first time, like you guys were saying.
As a person who has seen a lot of online players, mobile game players, gacha game players do this, and as a person who has run a couple of Matcherino events already, if you just set it up that with the donation stuff, like, the whales will cover a lot of other people. Like, that's like, I don't know why you need to force people with $60, right? Someone's just going to come in baller status and be like, here you go. That's the word.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure someone would, be like, here's $500 because I want COVID to go away, Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also a bonus, I get to play Street Fighter for the weekend or whatever, you know? Yeah, for sure, that's whatever, man. I don't like they did that. I'm glad they changed it. I hope that they learn from their ways and continue to run events in the future, because it sounds like they probably kind of have an idea of what they want to do and they know what they're doing. They just made a silly mistake with that minimum donation.
But again, I know that the history of tournament organizing in Japan, at least when it comes to really big events, is less grassroots. It's been more corporatized, historically, and that's not always the case, of course. But my understanding it is a lot of the case, and that's just a really different experience. So in most of the rest of the FGC, including in North America, we're basically grassroots, and it's more the exception to have something that's more of a fancy production. So for us, we have this kind of vetting of that you've gone through the community. Most tournament organizers have gone through the community, and the few that don't, the few that sort of just come in, we don't really super trust it at the start, even if they don't specifically screw people over, like in the Avid situation. Right. We still don't view them positively until they've been around for a while, and then okay, cool, I guess cool, you can do it. I ended up trusting ESL, right? I thought they were going to be a bunch of hucksters at the start, and it turned out not to be.
I was the same way with Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Look at my tweets. You can look at my tweets. Me being pissed off that Red Bull is involved.
Exactly.
And they ended up doing it right. So
for sure. So it's definitely can happen, and that's more of the experience. But I don't know that that's really a great lens to view the Japanese experience through, because my understanding is that it's different.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's a a very different kind of situation.
All right. Well, anything else
on
to
to
say
the next
about
thing.
Okay.
No way, man. Bring us on to the next thing.
Let's do it. Let's talk about other new. Let's talk about this Street Fighter V netcode patch. There was one.
Tell me about it.
Did you hear about it? Okay, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it, Tuboware, if that is your real name. This netcode update came along with the patch that added the UIU and Nasser costumes, which I think are pretty sharp.
They are pretty cool.
It's basically trying to prevent pausing the game while attempting to sync. Matches are now synced from the beginning of round call to minimize early lag. They reduce processing loads during battles, so while you're spectating, there's less of that match start. It's desynced, and then you have the very fast speed up, fast forward to catch up with things, which is good. I'm really glad that that's not there as much. And I don't think that it's intended to make everybody's experience better. I think it's more on the margins of situations. Let's improve it a little bit here and there. Is your neck okay over there? And
I'm just nodding my way through all this that you're explaining because
great.
It's just a whole bunch of gobbledygook because nothing changed with that patch.
Well, okay,
nothing changed with that patch, man.
I don't know that that's true. So my experience has been the same. I've been playing online. I don't notice any difference. I've been playing against people 3 bars and above just to test. And typically I would only do 5 bars, but I've just been experiencing just to see. And it's exactly the same as before. 5 bars is still not super dependable. 3 bars are sometimes okay, which they've been before. Sometimes they were okay before. Sometimes they suck. And it just feels to me, it's the same. But I also know people who have had substantially better experiences. And I also know people who have had substantially worse experiences. And maybe those are all just real anecdotal. They're obviously all anecdotal. All we have access to is our own brief periods of playtime. Maybe the people who have had great experiences have just happened to get matched up against people who they have good connections with. That could be. Maybe it would have worked out before. Maybe the people who have had bad experiences have just gotten matched up against people who they would have had bad connections with anyway. It's just, none of us, I think, really has a great lens to say that this is working or not. I would love to know more. I would love to hear from Capcom about how they think it's going. But for me personally, so far, I don't really notice a big difference. With the exception that I do notice that I don't have as much of that weird startup super fast forward effect as I did before.
I mean, some people are saying that, Vi is saying that 2 bars worked for him and everything like that. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance to play it. I need to test it out myself to see if my experiences are better. The real question to me is, does this mean they're going to keep trying to fix the netcode? Because, if they are continuing to try to make improvements as they keep going, if it is something that's going to focus on, it would make me enjoy the game, all the more, and I would really kind of appreciate that kind of fix. So, Yeah,
I hope they're going to continue. As long as they're working on this game that, in my eyes, they very clearly didn't plan on continuing working on, but they are now because of circumstances with COVID. I'm assuming, I have no inside information. This is what I'm assuming. I hope that they do continue to fix the netcode because that's been one of the biggest points of contention for players since 2016. So I do hope that they continue fixing it. I do know that Alex has said on Twitter repeatedly and even in chat now that he thinks this patch made a really big difference, at least for his own experience. Great. So I hope, all jokes aside, I hope that the patches are making a difference and the online play does get better. Yeah. Because even after Street Fighter 6 comes out, there's still going to be Street Fighter 5 fans out there, assuming that Capcom keeps the server online, that are going to want to play the game still. So, I hope that it does make a difference and they're doing good work out there and it gets better.
For sure. I definitely hear that. I mean, even before this patch, sometimes, like, I played against Mono. Mono's in Puerto Rico. I'm in California. That's super far. And our connection actually wasn't that bad, even before this. We haven't played since then, but, like, the point is that even before this, sometimes far connections, sometimes 2 and 3 bar connections for me have been okay. Sometimes, more often than not, they haven't been. And that's still how it's been my experience so far. But anyway, we'll see how it goes.
There was one patch that actually made the netcode better.
Yeah.
And was made by a guy in his basement over a few days' time. And
Sure
he was not connected to Capcom, and he showed that the netcode can get better, so hopefully Capcom does what he did. Anyways.
Alright. Let's talk about the next thing. Cagliostro's out in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I haven't seen anybody play this character until one of our friends was talking about it with us, and this character looks sick. IMO. Like, the options that she has are very Con-Ra-y, and I don't know, maybe surprised a little bit. I haven't been paying very close attention to this game, but she has dust, right? Like the little dust mite that travels across the screen. Basically, I guess it just stays still, but like she has that. She has ground spike as well, sand spike as well. Very unique, interesting option. Well, Con-Ra, maybe not unique. But
yeah, I was gonna say she looks like Con-Ra.
Yeah, in the context of this game, she's pretty unique, and that looks really cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to somebody who's labbed her. Olaf has labbed her a bunch of times, and he's obsessed with trap characters and stuff like that. But this character is going to make you to learn to use the guard button for sure, because Jump C is like a teleport or something like that, and so like she's just teleporting and setting traps everywhere. But what it sounds like is kind of similar to how Belial came out. When the characters came out, they nerfed everybody, kind of took away a lot of their fun stuff, and then Belial came in and was like, hey, I'm still crazy. And it seems like Cagliostro is a little bit that way. But what I do like is that it seems like, Arxis is willing to put in crazy characters. They just didn't want to do so right away. So, when the game first came out, most of the characters were pretty straightforward. There was obviously interesting characters like Matera and Luane and stuff like that, but now it feels like they're really getting to start to flex their muscle because, one, that maybe that was the plan, start a little more grounded, and then now we can get crazier. And two, they know their own game a little bit better, so I think they know what they can get away with, just like the Street Fighter V devs. And so, honestly, like, I like this. I like what I'm seeing, that they're trying to go crazier and crazier, with their potential character designs.
Yeah,
100%.
I
mean, fighting game companies seem to have been doing this for a while now, right? Like, the base rosters have seemed to have been, even I can think back all the way to like KI Season 1, where the base roster is like, all these characters, outside of like maybe 1 or 2, are real basic.
Yep.
Very, very standard characters. Street Fighter V was that way. Dragon Ball Fighters was that way. But as the DLC comes out, they get way, way, way more wild, So I think that's just kind of a trend with fighting games now. They want to play it more safe with the base roster. But yeah, I hope they continue to do that with Grand Blue and make all these real wild character choices and designs, because that's the stuff that makes fighting games fun. And in particular for this patch of Grand Blue, I really felt like they made the cast very boring, like just in general. Yeah. So seeing Belial and Cagliostro being real wild and strong gives me hope that the other characters are gonna, I don't want to say even get buffed, get turned back to what they used to be and get some options back. Because, man, if those characters got to fight against these new ones, that'd be real cool. Like, I'd really want to play that game. But, yeah, right now I'm not happy with the current patch. So it does give me hope seeing Cagliostro and Belial, whatever you want to call him, being real out there compared to the rest of the cast.
Yeah, man. All right. This is cool news. So Phantom Breaker Omnia is coming to worldwide release from publisher Rocket Panda Games. This game was released in Japan in 2011. It was supposed to release in North America in 2012, but then their original publisher canceled that, so it never did. And now it's going to happen. I've never seen the game before. This is literally when I read the tweets that were being tweeted around. This was the first time I'd ever heard of it.
I've never heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. And I looked it up, and it looked pretty cool. It's going to have well-known English language voice actors in the dub, which is kind of cool. They're putting some cash towards that. 2 brand new characters as well. And yeah, it'll be available more broadly.
Cool.
It will not have rollback netcode.
Damn.
They said that on Twitter.
They specifically said it will not be rollback.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not in that tone, but yeah, they said that.
Where did James go? I just looked over to the screen and he's...
Oh, well, if you just look to your left, you'll see that he's over... Yeah, there he is, right behind you.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Oof, I lost him for a second.
There he is. Anyway, this is cool. I mean, bummer that it's not going to have as good of online play as it could have. I don't know the circumstances for that. The tweets that I saw about it were just basically like, yeah, we looked into it and we can't do it.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll see.
Cool.
And then let's talk about this in more community news. Tasty Steve scholarship. Did you hear about this?
This is the coolest
thing. I did hear about it.
This is the coolest thing ever, dude. Seriously.
It's so cool, honestly. So Tasty Steve is joining forces with Yellow Brick and FIT, which is the Fashion Institute of Technology, to do a scholarship for people who are trying to get into video game design. Super cool. My understanding is that this is like Yellow Brick sponsoring people to go to FIT. I tried to look into this and it wasn't super clear to me, but that is the best that I could get out of it.
Yeah.
Let me know if that's not correct. Awesome. I think this is so cool. Congrats to Steve on this. Great venture. And yeah, I think he's a great spokesperson for this kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I hope that the information becomes easier to come across, because I couldn't find anything super deep on it either, but it sounded really cool, and from what I know, Yellow Brick's like a legit thing, so I doubt that it's like a, I doubt it's a John Nelson situation.
No.
So I just hope that they make it more clear what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just super happy for Tasty Steve. I mean, what a great guy, and he's he's one of those people that when he wants to give back to the community like that, like that's legit. He wants to give back to the community like that. His history, his background, where he's come from, and how far he's gotten and stuff like that. Especially because he had that little highlight video, and you could see like he was on TV and doing all these cool things and stuff. And it's just, really happy for everything that's happened for Tasty Steve, for Mr. Steve Scott, because he's just one of those guys that you just feel like deserves all the great things, and because he will give back like the way that he's doing. So I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Steve's one of my favorite people on earth, so no better person to represent this.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. Mm-hmm. But also, when Steve tweeted about it and he got Yellow Brick's Twitter handle wrong, I was just like, this is
also the most Steve thing ever.
The most Steve tweet ever. I cracked up at that for a couple of minutes.
Yep.
Oh no.
It's like a great, he's doing a great thing. The video's awesome. He killed that, knocked it out of the park. The idea of it is fantastic. And also he screwed that part up, which is very Steve as well.
Yep. I thought it was the most Tasty Steve thing ever.
I thought it was perfect. If you read the link on Yellow Brick, they call him Tasty Steve with air quote. Well, not with air quotes, with quotations every time, which I think is a blast as well.
Tasty, quote unquote.
Yeah. All right. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about community-wise, which we didn't have enough room to put up here, is that Button Mash is closed, which is a big bummer to me. Button Mash is a local restaurant, barcade.
I didn't hear about this.
Los Angeles, yep. And it was started by a member of the FGC, Gabe, and his business partners. Yeah, P. Gorath. And and his business partners have had to close it down. This is maybe not permanent. They may be coming back next year. He said that in the story that I read about it, they said that they're hoping to come back next year. But they'll see how it goes. It just hasn't, like many restaurants, right? Just haven't been able to keep it going. So they've been doing outdoor service they've been doing takeout orders and stuff like that, but that's just not enough. And a lot of the people who
nobody goes to Mash Buttons to get food, you know.
Dude,
you want to play games,
no, I mean honestly,
No.
their food's super good. They have honestly super good food. That
even
is a
them,
big,
like you don't think about that first.
that it is a big draw for them, but certainly, yeah, a lot of the clientele are people who went there to play the video games, and without that, sure, a big part of their draw is not there. But yeah, I mean, restaurants all over the country, and LA is no exception, have been closing down because it's just really hard to keep going at the rates of people going to eat out these days. Not even just eat out, but take out.
I was just talking about how awesome their food is
Yeah, it really is good.
and just how amazing of a place that is. That was a place that me and my friends would have a Christmas gathering, and we would go to Button Mash, and that's where we played 4-man Warlords all the time, and I was the only person that ever beat Dragon's Lair at Button Mash, and it's just oh man, that place is awesome. And like I said, their food was ridiculous. I mean, the story of their food was that there was a group out there called Starry Kitchen that sold food from their apartment, and that was illegal, and so they got shut down. And so Gabe actually hit them up to make their menu. And the food was, I mean, they were super popular and super famous when they were doing the thing from their home. But like that, I mean, their food was, more people went to Button Mash, I think, for the food and the bar than they did for the games. Like, honestly, it was more known for the bar and the food there than I think the games were. So it was a really, really great restaurant, and God, I hope he can make it back. I mean, if there's a way we can like GoFundMe or something, I don't know.
I mean, look, it's as people are saying in the chat, a lot more stuff's gonna go down. This is not the end of things. This is the next, minimum half year in the US.
Yeah.
We're a ways off.
It would have been nice if, the giant corporations out there didn't take all of the small business funds out there that was supposed to go to small businesses.
There just hasn't been enough. It's the problem. Obviously, the government's just dramatically awful at how it's responded. So.
Yeah, completely dropped the ball.
All right, that's all I got for community-related stuff. to end on a bummer. As far as tournament results go, as we've said in the past, we're keeping this part to a minimum these days. This is not the focus of the show that it once was. But the CPT Online Central America 2 happened, and Mena RD won it. So Mena RD qualifies for Capcom Cup, which is great. I'm really happy that he's back. He's super deserving. And he played how many different characters? Like 5 different characters. Yeah, Abigail, Sakura, Mika, Birdie, and Seth
Jesus.
in winning this thing. So he's put in a lot of time with a lot of different characters. He looked good, man. He looked real strong. So the 2 qualifiers from the Central America / Caribbean region are both Dominican players because Cabo won the first one. That country's pretty good at things.
They're all right.
I really liked, to move on, I really liked East Coast Throwdown this weekend. They did a great job. It was really fun. It was not a traditional big tournament, but it was a series of invitationals and then show matches. So the invitationals, Street Fighter V was won by Shine. Second place was Hoji. And in DBFZ, first place was Nitro. Second place was a mini Assassin. And then they also had Tekken in cooperation with Core Gaming, where Dotoring beat Sodam, Mulgold beat CBM, and John Ding beat JDCR, which was super close. Very trash talk heavy. So that was a lot of fun. And they got Yipes and Chris Matrix to do commentary for DBFZ, which was definitely the right choice. It was a lot of fun to listen to. And they got, for Street Fighter V, Yipes and Chris Matrix for commentary, which was definitely not the right choice.
No?
I mean, they're just hilarious guys. Like, they're both very funny, and Yipes plays the game, like, he definitely knows it. But Chris obviously thinks it sucks. So he's, anyway.
Oh, no. Okay.
But they're really funny, so just, like, hanging out and listening to them was great anyway. Okay. They also had super sick merchandise, I thought. I don't know if any of you saw that, but...
Dude, I want one of those pink hoodies so bad.
The pink hoodie was so sick!
That's so
right?
cool. And like Joe said, like he wants to get a picture with everybody and the pink hoodies like in one room. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Hopefully one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I like that a lot. So anyway, I mean, they also, I forgot to mention this. They had Chris do a like a little promo. They actually had a really funny series of promos. They had Yipes and Chris Matrix like watching Roadrunner Records music videos. And basically doing a Beavis and Butthead style. Like,
yeah, is Beavis and Butthead?
It's literally Beavis and Butthead. Yeah,
so
It
funny.
was super funny. They were super funny to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was great. And they also had a Chris Matrix skit where he's teaching you how to do an infinite in Marvel 2, and it was genius. I really recommend everybody checking it out. They have it up on YouTube. I'll just put it in the chat now, I guess. But yeah, it was really funny. That's going to be more work than I think I realized. So anyway, you should really watch it. Look it up on YouTube. I'll put it in the YouTube that we have uploaded for this.
There you go.
For the other stuff, the DBFZ National Championships are going on. There's a round robin happening. This is just week 1. Check that out. ArcRevo happened again, Japan and also US South and Southeast. I watched the BB tag US South and Southeast, and Jan was putting in major work with Wald Tager, which was a blast for me. That was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very footsie heavy.
What did you call it?
I'm sure it's very footsie heavy.
I'm not sure what that word means in a BB tag context. What was the word?
Exactly. Footsie heavy. You talked about grapplers. They're the true footsie characters, right?
I've never said that about Iron Tager, for sure.
I don't want to. Nope, you said grapplers are the true footsie character.
Other characters, yeah. Iron Tager, definitely not. But Jan's match versus Razo, where Razo was doing Naoto and Merkaba. You know, Naoto from Persona, when she like tags you with a certain super, the next time she does a super, it's an auto kill.
Yeah.
And so even though Wald and Tager both have like a super ton of life, you can kill them in 2 hits with this team. Sure. So it was a really fun little counter match, and Jan ended up winning it anyway. Really good match.
Yeah, they're definitely not grapplers in that game.
Those are grapplers.
Oh, they're grapplers. Oh yeah,
those are grapplers.
They're big jerks. They're big grappler jerks for sure. They're just not. They're not playing footsies, but yeah, I mean it's like a zanier Marvel. That's why I love it. Right. It's not really the same kind of thing. Yep, there you go. We had a Sure You Can scrimmage. It was won by Drill Master, which was nice work.
Which is largely with Ryu as well. So
with Ryu.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Cool.
I also wanted to mention, as far as upcoming stuff, but kind of stuff that happened this past weekend. So there's an event coming up for the Killer Instinct community. The DMCA
is this coming up? Yeah.
Killer Instinct.
Hang on. If this is coming up, I just want to mention the Core events thing as well. This past weekend,
sure.
They did a Soul Calibur event where they invited basically 10 of the best Soul Calibur players in Korea. Previous to that, they had a 1st to 10 between 2 of the players, and I actually got to restream that and talk with the players over there, and I'm hoping to work with them a lot more. But the Core events, Gerald helped put this on at their place. The players were the Kura, who is basically might be considered the best player in Korea, and he's like uses Killick, so he's my hero. But Ake Oppo destroyed everybody. There was 2 phases, it was round robin and then the top 8. But Ake Oppo destroyed everybody and got top place. Ameka, Bluff, Flash God, Rurika, Achong Weasel, Mina Bro, and Spire Killick were all there in that tournament. But it was really cool. I got to watch a little bit of that and listen to Gerald and Burnout Fighter do some commentary. I think that was really cool. So just wanted to give shout outs to Gerald and the Core events, and also the Soul Calibur community as well. So
cool, man. What I was going to bring up kind of did happen this past weekend, but there's more to come. So this is the DMC Killer Instinct 3v3 Battle of the Rising Stars Climax. And this is a, as it says, 3v3 event, and established Killer Instinct players are the team captains. They then draft 3 players who are considered rising stars, people on the come up in the Killer Instinct community, and then those 3 players will have team battles versus other teams. the like pro quote unquote KI players aren't going to actually be playing. They're just the coach. They're the coach of these teams. So these team coaches drafted players, each of them 3, like I said. And some of the players include, like, one team is ChrisG, Jabali, and Balls Deep. So there's a player's name. That's a Mentee's team. And then base got Coach Steve, The Realist John, Dragon Blade Ice. Duel got Beyond Toxin, Code Complete, Cherries, etc. And Valorax got Silmerian, Marble Dan, and Ultra David on his team.
What a terrible team.
Dang.
At least 1/3 of the team.
Okay.
Thanks,
okay,
Tuboware.
So David
So I'm going to be playing in this, and this is an event that will take place on Saturday, November 21st. So we have a week to practice. So I'll be playing with those guys on my team. It's really good to have Valorax as the guy whose team I'm on because he plays my character Rom, among others. So that's going to be really helpful for me, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fun, regardless.
That's actually cool. So you're playing in a KI event this coming week. I'm actually going to be commentating
November
a KI
21st.
event this coming week as well. So I'll be commentating a KI event on Thursday.
Oh, sick.
Are you doing something with KI at all this week, Brandon? Just curious, that's all.
It's out of here. Again, this thing is actually November 21st, not this.
Oh, not this week. Okay, that's fair.
So we have a month to practice.
Also, just
later. Wow, Jasmine took his seat even? I can't believe it.
I know, Jasmine's doing
She straight up took his seat. He's out of here for good. You can't come back anymore, Brock.
Listen, man, I'm on the toilet right now.
But also,
you could have been before anyway.
Also wanted to mention that tomorrow is going to be my Matcherino Cup qualifier for Super Turbo. Matcherino Cup is taking place on October 30th, and there's a bunch of qualifier events. Spooky's run one already. Actually, let me pull up the Discord. I can tell you who's in it so far, who's all qualified so far. Let me get here the Matcherino Cup over here. So far out of everybody that's been in here, Ronin Rumble, they qualify. The qualifiers were We're Parting, Super V, Blazed Donuts, and Paper Cut. Let me see which other ones. Team Spooky's qualifier was Hokuto, Damdai, Silent Scope, and Vodka Gobalski. And then low kick qualifiers were Mindarg, Ito 2K, Scuzz Bucket, and H0. There's one that's going on today being run by Riz1 that's going on right now. And then I'll be running one tomorrow. It's all usually done through Fightcade 2. We're all doing it through Fightcade 2. So I'll be streaming that tomorrow. That starts at 4 p.m. That'll be on twitch.tv/jchensor. Got to do my shameless plug. But that will be taking place tomorrow. So there you go.
Cool. Hey, Tuboware, did you crush Jasmine? Is she okay?
I think she's all right. She should be.
Okay. Okay, good.
Oh,
she already had the cone of shame on, so I don't want things to get worse for her.
I don't want anything to be worse.
That's all I got. Oh, also this weekend is CPT Online Asia East number 2.
Yep.
And I'm commentating that.
You are.
No, I'm not.
Tuboware, aka James Chen.
Yeah, I'm commentating that.
Tuboware, James Chen, same thing.
All right, we're going to combine ourselves, right? So I'm just saying.
Speaking of number 2, I got to skedaddle real shortly here, folks.
All right. Well, I guess that's the show then.
I'm going to switch ourselves to topic number 2 over here so that, you know. What about topic number 2?
Thanks, James.
Yeah. All right. Is that it then? Are we done?
I think that's the show. Yeah, I think that's done.
Heard him.
Ooh, that's quiet. There we go.
Only 10 more seconds, David. You can handle it. You can do it. It's already been 20 minutes. You can handle it.
What's the button to switch to the title screen again? Where is that button again? So that we're not on camera anymore? Gotta figure out. not the right button. Oh, there we go. Okay. We're good. We're good.
Later, David.